Hey, yo, folks! It is a new trial. It is a new trial. It is Georgia versus Mosley. This is something that happened last year outside of Marta Arts Center station. They got the call in more or less middle of the night that there's been a shooting. The cops came to the scene, discovered what's his name? Demarco Mathis, gunned down, had hit several times, and then the very next day they arrested Xavier Mosley. Now, what takes this a bit apart from other, because at first I thought, oh, this sounds gang related, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I actually have no idea. Well, sorry, I actually do have an idea. There's no gang charges in this trial. There are no gang charges. That, because let me show you here. Let's see if I can get you this. Here, Mr. Mosley is charged with murder, 3 counts of felony murder, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and 3 counts of possession of a firearm of a convicted felon. That's it. Well, it's 1 shooting, 1 alleged shooter, 1 victim. Why all the charges? I wish I could tell you why. My best guess is the victim was hit 3 times. And maybe not each shot was in itself the killing, or they couldn't determine it. Hence 3 felony murder below the murder. And 3 points of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. That's my best guess, folks. That's my absolute best guess. So, no RICO charges, no gang charges, and this might tip you off a bit. The victim was 45, and the alleged shooter was 38. Now, at that age, gangbangers are often dead. What can I say? So once I figured that one out, I decided I don't want to know anymore. So I have no idea the reasons or anything. Hello, Mr. Jingles. I don't know anything about, I didn't check motive or background or anything. So we are jumping into this trial blind, so to speak. We are jumping into this blind, and let's see how the prosecution brings the evidence and the defense brings their defense. And hopefully this trial will be something we haven't seen out of Fulton County before. A proper prosecution. Now, the person bringing all the charges is, of course, District Attorney Felony Willis. So I will not... Why are you licking my hand, Mr. Jingles? Okay. So this is from Felony Willis, so I would expect some shenanigans. So can you sit back up there, please? Thank you. Oh. So, and now we could get into the jury instructions and the jury oath and everything, but no, let's get right into the trial. How about that? right into the trial, watching blind, like jurors, and let the evidence speak for itself. But of course, if the prosecution does something shady, I will point it out for you, or you will point it out for me. Let's watch this together and make all the snark you want. Or if we discover that, oh, this is bad, let's just check it out, folks. Let's just check it out. Let's see if I can have one. No, let's put it up there in the corner. All right, folks. State versus Mosley, day 1. Opening statements.
That long, but I appreciate most of you being here on time, and I'm confident whoever wasn't here on time will be here on time tomorrow. As you learned this morning, we cannot start until all 14 of you are here. Anything that happens in court needs to be seen and heard by all 14 of you. So
I don't know how many extra jurors there are, how many, and if it's a 12 jury and 2 alternates, that means it's a short trial. If it's 10 jurors and 4 alternates, I have no idea. Yes, Gigi, this is from Judge McBurney's courthouse. Wim says 2 extras. Yeah, that, in my opinion, means this is a short trial.
Tomorrow, and we'll talk about this at the end of the day today, we're going to start more like 12:30. I have something called drug court in the morning every other Wednesday. It's an immovable commitment, so we have a half day-ish tomorrow. Don't be late tomorrow. We'll start. Everyone will be here on time, and we'll talk about that. But I appreciate those of you who made it here on time. Our commitment to you, the lawyers, Mr. Mosley and myself, is to use your time as effectively as possible. There will be some unanticipated breaks when I have to send you back to the jury room because we'll need to talk about something outside your presence. But for the most part, I try to get the lawyers to take that up before you get here or after you leave or during your lunch break. So we were ready at 10, but we're going to get started now. I need to give you some basic legal instructions before we can dive into the state's presentation of its case. But before any of that, I need to administer a different oath. Yesterday, you took the voir dire oath that made...
Okay. Let's skip that and get directly to state's opening. Oh. Almost missed it.
No signal?
Says nothing.
It says nothing, even worse. Not even no signal. All right, let me see if I've got an update on IT.
Yeah, I have.
We're going to be able to keep going forward. It's going to show what's on that screen as well. It just helps jurors deeper in the box to see what's going on. We're going to...
I have closed captions on. I don't know why it doesn't work.
Get started. Mr. Body, when you're ready, please.
Oh, we get to see the slideshow. This will be interesting. Are you talking?
One thing that you're going to see that's consistent during the next couple of days of this trial is that we're all going to have a little trouble with technology. It never seems to work the way it's supposed to, and we ask you to bear with us, and we apologize for any time that appears to be wasted because we're tinkering with the technology, or Mr. Rouse running around trying to get the Zoom to share. So I want to thank you in advance for your time and your patience. Another theme that's going to be consistent with this trial is that this defendant's actions, Xavier Mosley, on August 11th, 2024, acted consciously, deliberately, and intentionally. He used a firearm deliberately.
Let's just say I've seen better slideshows. Okay, that's a choice.
Intentionally and consciously. He made a decision to shoot and kill Mr. Demarco Mathis, who was just seated on the bench. What the evidence is going to show, what you heard about yesterday, is that on August 11th of 2024, the defendant and Demarco Mathis were at the Marta Arts Center station, or transit station, which is located at 1255 West Peachtree Street here in Atlanta and Fulton County. And what the evidence is going to show is that Mr. Mosley and Mr. Mathis, they came to the bus loop area that we talked about yesterday, sat down on a bench around 8:27 p.m. and talked for about 30 minutes. And then around 8:57, 8:58 p.m., you'll see the defendant stand up, brandish a firearm, and while Mr. Mathis is seated, as he had been for the last 31 minutes, next to the defendant, he points and he pulls the trigger twice. And you'll see Mr. Mathis roll off that bench and pain at him. Now, what the evidence is going to show or consist of during the investigation, the detectives are able to gather video surveillance. There's search of the defendant's homes and items where the defendant's clothes, which we'll talk about here in a second, is why his clothing is important. You'll hear during the course of this trial about forensic evidence, specifically ballistics evidence, firearms, handguns, and as well as bullets and projectiles and shell casings. You will learn during the course of this trial, you guys will become experts yourself about all of those items and the analysis that is done in order to get to conclusions that you'll hear about during the course of this trial.
Oh, great.
Again, you will hear about the physical evidence that's collected at the scene at the Marta Arts Center station at 1255 West Peachtree Street, as well as other evidence that's collected throughout the investigation by members of the Marta Police Department. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the people you're going to hear about during the course of this trial and how they're related. You're going to meet through witnesses and through the investigation Mr. Demarco Mathis, who the defendant caused his demise, like I said, on August 11, 2024. And you're going to hear that Demarco Mathis and Xavier Mosley, the defendant, worked at the same chicken plant. That's what I'll call it. And it's called Tip Top Poultry, and it's located not far from here in Marietta, Cobb County. And that they work together in the sanitation department. And you will learn through the course of this trial, when you are hearing about the investigation, they worked on the same.
They worked at a chicken slaughterhouse. Oh, I hope nobody was egging someone on. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Shit. And you're going to hear from the detectives and members of Tip Top Poultry that there was no conflict that had been reported, no conflict that had been found. The defendant just decided to shoot and kill Mr. Mathis as he sat there on August 11th of 2024. Now, you're going to see a lot of photographs, you're going to see video and body cam of the incident location, where this murder occurred, where this defendant committed the callous acts that he did when he pointed and fired his firearm at Mr. Mathis twice, killing him on August 11th, 2024. And you're going to see a lot of photos and video related to the Arts Center transit station. And you're going to see photographs and video of the area that we specifically talked about yesterday when we asked you if you were familiar not only with the location, but the actual bus loop area where buses from different places, whether it be the Cobb County Transit, MARTA, things of that nature, arrive so passengers can get on and get off of those specific buses. And you're also going to see a variety of video surveillance. You're going to see video surveillance that captures the area of the bus loop. You're going to see video surveillance that captures the area of where MARTA passengers, when they enter into the Arts Center station, have to swipe your card or get your fare, pay for your fare, and then swipe your card. You're going to see video surveillance for other MARTA stations, like the East Point MARTA station, as well as you'll see actual video surveillance of inside a MARTA train, specifically train 223. You will also see video surveillance inside of different buses, because what the evidence is going to show and what you're going to learn over the course of this trial, that the detectives were able to pull different types of video surveillance tracking the defendant on the day of August 11th, 2024. And this video surveillance is going to form the timeline of the events that occurred on August 11th, 2024. What you're going to see and what's important is that at around 8:27, as I stated, Mr. Mathis.
Okay, well, if they have all of this, why is it a trial and not a plea out? Are they going for an insanity defense? I have no idea. Folks, it seems like, at least when you hear the state opening statement, okay, seems open and shut, doesn't it? As I said, I have done no background check on this case at all. So everything you see, I see for the first time as well.
And the defendant both arrived to the area of the bus loop at the Arts Center station. They sit down on a bench, just like this one that you see in the photographs on the PowerPoint. And you're going to know through the investigation and from the video surveillance evidence, they didn't sit there for approximately 30 minutes, both seated, talking. Their behaviors as you watch the video surveillance is cordial, as if there's no issue. And then around 8:58 p.m., you will see the defendant rise while Mr. Mathis remains seated. You'll see the defendant brandish a firearm, and you will see him point and shoot twice. And you will see Mr. Mathis fall or slide from the bench he had been sitting on.
So this might be a Fulton County prosecution where they actually don't need to fuck up the evidence or misconstrue the evidence or lose videos. How about that?
The last 31 minutes, talking to the defendant, low on ground pain. You'll see the defendant then grabs his black book bag, which will become important as we move through the trial and through the investigation. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But he grabs his book bag and then leaves the scene of the shooting that he just did as related to Mr. Mathis. And you'll see an additional video surveillance of him then leaving the MARTA station. So at that point, you will hear from different members of the MARTA Police Department. We'll hear about the response to the gunshots that were heard at the MARTA station. And one of the first people that you will hear from is a MARTA field detective specialist. And like the judge said yesterday, I didn't know what a field detective specialist was until I spoke to field detective specialist Littles. And what she will tell you is that she is a member of MARTA, or employed by MARTA, and she's not a police officer, but she's kind of in between. So she will tell you that she will be assigned at different times and different locations, different MARTA stations, to just kind of observe and make sure nothing's out of the ordinary is going on. She will tell you that she's kind of in between a customer service representative, that she will help any passengers who need help getting fares or finding trains. And she will tell you that on August 11th, 2024, she was at the Arts Center station. At approximately 8:58, she was in an area that was between where the bus loop that we talked about, that you have seen here today, was, and then where the trains come on the tracks on the other side. And she will tell you that she heard 2 gunshots, and that she heard them in the area of the bus, which immediately walked over to that area. And when she arrived, she didn't see the shooter, but she did see Mr. Mathis. She saw Mr. Mathis laying on the ground, bleeding. She immediately radioed for help, for assistance, through her Marta communications. And shortly after she requests that assistance, what you will see and what you learn and who you will hear from is Officer Tyshawn Martha. And he will tell you he was one of the first responding officers who arrived on scene. And he arrived very quickly after Field Detective Specialist Little radioed for help. That upon his arrival, he immediately began to attempt life-saving measures. You will see that he attempted to do CPR. He attempted to get the IED in order to pump the defendant's chest. And he'll tell you that he stopped the measures or the things that he was trying to do to save Mr. Mathis's life because medical professionals actually arrived from Grady. And they attempted to save the life of Mr. Mathis. But ultimately, all of the life-saving measures that were taken, attempted, failed. That his injuries were too severe from the 2 gunshot wounds that he received from this defendant. And what Officer Martha will tell you is that after Grady transports the victim, Mr. Mathis, away from the scene in an attempt to save his life at Grady Hospital, he then attempts to secure the scene. He'll tell you that means putting up the we've all seen on TV, the yellow tape, and things of that nature, trying to contain people from entering the crime scene. And he'll tell you what he observed as it relates to projectiles or shell casings found on the scene. He was able to talk with any individuals on the scene, and as a result of talking to those individuals, he was able to do. What Officer Marco will tell you is there was one witness he was able to locate and speak with. And this was a Cobb County Transit bus driver who was what he would refer to as on standby, waiting for his route to begin and all the passengers to load onto his bus. And then he was standing outside of his bus, not too far from where the defendant and Mr. Mathis were seated right before the defendant shot and killed Mr. Mathis.
Morning, Matthew.
And he'll tell you that at approximately 8:57 p.m. that he heard gunshots and immediately turned and saw the second shot that was being shot at Mr. Mathis. And he will tell you that, as he told the officers on that night, that he gave a description. That person had a black shirt, that he had black pants on, person had a hat on, and what he called short dreads, and that the person who shot Mr. Mathis was seated next to him on the bench prior to standing, brandishing that firearm, and shooting Mr. Mathis as he still sat on the bench. Now, after the response from Officer Marthone, the homicide investigation began. Different detectives from the Marta Police Department arrived to assist with the securing of the scene, the processing of the scene, with the collection of any evidence that they could find. What the detectives will tell you is that Detective Brett Steele was assigned as the lead investigator, but other detectives and members of the Marta Police Department assisted, as they typically do, Detective Steele with the investigation. You'll hear from other detectives that canvassed the Marta Arts Center station in order to an attempt to locate the person who had shot and fired the bullets that ultimately killed Mr. Mathis at the bus loop area of the Marta station. And what Detective Stiegel and the other detectives will describe to you is that based on knowing the approximate time of when the shooting occurred, a description of the shooter, they were able to begin reviewing video surveillance of that specific area of the bus loop, Marta Arts Center station video surveillance, and then kind of work backwards with what the detectives were saying. And what the timeline that Detective Stiegel will explain when he testifies is that on August 11th, 2024, he was able to successfully backtrack the travel of the journey of the defendant to 1255 West Peachtree Street, the Arts Center station. And what Detective Stiegel was able to find and able to determine was that at approximately 6:30 p.m., the defendant boards a MARTA bus near the area of his home, which you'll learn shortly and through the course of this trial was 2269 Jernigan Drive. He boards the MARTA bus. You'll see video surveillance of him boarding the bus. You'll be able to see the clothing that he had on. And then he was able to find surveillance where the defendant entered the East Point MARTA station at approximately 7:44 p.m. As he travels through the East Point MARTA station on a train 223, where he arrives at approximately 8:27 to the Arts Center station, like we talked about. And that's where the defendant, Mr. Mathis, meets or join and sit down on the bench at approximately 8:27 and thereafter. And as we talked about, some shooting at 8:58 p.m. And then the defendant leaves the scene and Field Detective Specialist Little responds and has other officers and detectives dispatched to the area. Now, I want to bring to your attention on the front end that each video surveillance is a little different. The clarity is not the same. It's not like what you see on CSI or on TV. It's 4K, whatever, 1080p, whatever they call it, where you can see every aspect, everything as clear as can be. So different video surveillance that is used and captures the defendant's clothing and items that he had on, it's going to vary. But that's why the detectives, in this case, backtrack the journey, travel of the defendant in order to get the different various cameras, where some are very clear and others are not. But ultimately, once you review and see all the video surveillance, it'll be clear the person who brandished that firearm as Mr. Mathis sat on the bench was this defendant. It was Xavier Mosley. That he stood up.
Question. So, I assumed the art center was named Marta Arts Center, but now it's a MARTA bus? Yep, it's a bus. Yeah. So it's an art center. So, Jesus Christ. Okay, I might need to change my thumbnail a bit. I assumed, since it was Marta Arts Center murder, but Marta is the bus, the station is the art center. Wow, that's confusing if you're not from Atlanta.
And it triggers lights. And what you'll see is some of the images that I just talked about. This is the defendant entering the MARTA bus as he began his travel. This is the defendant in his stocking cap, as you saw earlier, his black hat, some white writing on the front of his shirt. And you'll see later, as you watch the video surveillance, that the back of his shirt has some distinctive designs on it. You'll see the white sneakers, and you will see the backpack, the details of the backpack that the defendant is carrying in this photograph. And then you will see video surveillance and further still shots and images from the video surveillance of, as described earlier, the travel of the defendant from the East Point Marta station on one of the trains to the Arts Center station here in Midtown on West Peachtree Street. The investigation continues after reviewing the video surveillance footage. And what Detective Steele will tell you is that he began to review additional footage of those same stations, East Point Marta station, the Arts Center station, the bus routes that are close in proximity to where the defendant picked up the bus on August 11th, 2024. And what he'll tell you is that by doing that, he's trying to determine how often the patterns in which the defendant traveled to these locations to determine the identity at that point. And what he was able to determine through looking at that additional footage is the Breeze car that was registered to Mr. Mosley and that was ultimately found in his home to help identify him. What Detective Steele will tell you is that they enlisted the assistance of Miss Abby Bell, who is an analyst who works with the Chamblee Police Department. And what Detective Steele and Miss Bell will tell you is that they utilize facial recognition software from the stills or the bolo that ultimately Detective Steele created and sent out, and that Ms. Bell was able to run those photographs through the facial recognition software, which she will talk to each and every one of you about as she testifies through the course of this trial, and that she was able to determine the possible identity of people in the photographs as Mr. Xavier Mosley. And once Detective Steele is able to get the information from Ms. Bell, from the photographs that you see before you on the screen, and that were inputted into the facial recognition software, is that he then did his investigation into who Mr. Mosley was and how he could find him and information concerning where he lived, his phone number, people who knew him. And through his investigation, he was able to determine that he was being supervised by a member of the Department of Community Supervision, Officer Gregory Williams. And what you learn and what you hear from Officer Williams is that he had met with and supervising the defendant. He was shown the bolo that you just saw, and he was able to confirm that the person in those photographs, their identity was, as Ms. Bell had indicated, was Xavier Mosley. On learning and getting that information, Detective Steele then took arrest warrants out for murder and the additional charges, possession of a firearm, felony, possession of a firearm by convicted felon, as he learned through his investigation. And what Detective Steele will tell you, and what members of the Atlanta Police Department will tell you, is upon the warrants being issued, Marta enlisted the help of the Atlanta Police Department's Fugitive Task Force to assist in the apprehension of the arrest of the defendant. And you will hear from members of the Atlanta Police Department's Fugitive Task Force team, and they'll tell you that they did their investigation as it relates to the defendant, fugitive that they were looking for at that time. Now, during that time, while the Atlanta Police Department was doing their investigation as it related to the location of where Mr. Mosley was, Detective Steele continued to work with the members of the Marta Police Department, other detectives, and they went to Tip Top Poultry plant, not far from here again, right down the road in Cobb County.
I don't know about you guys, but there is this. I didn't catch the prosecutor's name, but it doesn't sound experienced. It's didn't. It's listening to train tracks. Didn't. One. Okay, a bit of diversion here. Somewhere where I've been doing my thing as a union jurist for a number of years, I got the suggestion to read and recite poetry. because that has flow. You have different kind of poetry for different kind of occasions. You have aggressive, you have romantic, you have and everything in between. You have the greats, you have the not so greats, but you still get a flow of words. So if anybody who is listening and thinking, I need help with my speech, with how I do things, because people tend to fall asleep when I talk. Read and recite poetry. Get your flow in. Dun, dun, instead of dun, 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 you get a melody. You get a melody. And that is what took me from a run-of-the-mill union jurist to, well, I've been doing it for 30 years now, and I'm a senior negotiator, and I'm doing good. And I am really good at what I do. Yeah, just a tip from you, if anybody out there on Rumble or X or here on YouTube, if you happen, you don't have, it doesn't need to be that you're a lawyer. It could be that when you are retelling a story, you don't get the flow. Read and recite poetry. You will get the flow of it eventually. All right, back to trial.
And he was able to get information again as related to the defendant's biographical information, updated address, phone numbers, shifts that he worked, shifts that Mr. Mathis worked, getting a background as it related to both Mr. Mosley and Mr. Mathis. Now, a few days later, on August 14th of 2024, the same address that Detective Steedle was able to ascertain from Tip-Top Poultry, 2269 Jurgen Drive, southeast Atlanta, Georgia address. The defendant was ultimately located hiding in the attic. And you'll hear from members of the Fugitive Task Force that they were there for quite some time, realized the defendant was in the attic, attempted to get him to come down from the attic for quite some time, and what entailed and what they had to do in order to apprehend the defendant on August 14th of 2024 from his attic. Now, what you're also going to hear is that upon the defendant's arrest, the members of the Demarco Police Department did a search warrant or executed a search warrant of the defendant's residence. And I want you to pay careful attention on what was found inside of the defendant's residence, inside of his room, inside of the living room, and inside of the attic where he was hiding. And what you're ultimately going to hear that was found was a high-point handgun that was found hidden in a bin, a blue bin, in the attic where the defendant had been hiding before his arrest. Ammunition that was found in the defendant's room that was the same ammunition to the shell casings that were located at 1255 West Peachtree Street after the shooting in close proximity of Mr. Mathis's body. The clothing that was located and ultimately collected, and the book bag that was found and collected. And what you will learn and what you see before you, this was the handgun that was located in the attic. This is a picture of the ammunition that matched the ammunition that was found at the scene. This is the shirt, one of the items of clothing that is found at the defendant's home.
Kiana says, I really hope this APD did a better job investigating than they did on YSL. Well, it seems like they got everything on a platter. He kept everything. Yeah, still had the gun. But folks, this is the state's opening statement. I have no idea what the defense will be and their opening statement. This is as new to you as it is to me. So we might be in the works of a proper prosecution inside Fulton County.
The front of the shirt thing says investor on the front, top of the shirt, and then the design on the back, as it relates to the shirt that the defendant was wearing on August 11th, 2024. You've seen in the video surveillance where the Falcons cap, the white shoes that you can see at the bottom of the photograph here, and then above that, the black book bag. All that is important. Why it's collected, the importance of the thing now is you can see in the video surveillance images from August 11th, 2024, not soon before the shooting occurred, the same Falcons cap, the same shirt, and the exact same book bag and shoes that were located in the defendant's home. The investigation didn't stop there. Upon the defendant's arrest, he was interviewed and Mirandized and spoken to. And after he agreed to speak with the detectives, what you will learn from Detective Steele is that during the time in which they were speaking with him, they showed him one of the stills that you've seen here today. And he confirmed that was him in the photograph wearing the black and red Falcons cap, the black shirt with the investor writing on the left-hand side, front of the shirt, and the interesting design on the back. And that was him with the book bag. Now, as the trial continues, you will hear from Dr. Karen Sullivan, who Mr. Mathis ultimately was transported to at the Fulton County Medical Examiner's office upon his end. And she will tell you that the next day, on August 12th, 2024, she did an autopsy of Mr. Demarco Mathis. And as a result of the autopsy which she performed, she was able to conclude that Mr. Mathis' cause of death was a gunshot wound to the torso, and that he was also shot in his elbow. And she will tell you that the manner of death that she was able to determine upon the autopsy that she performed on Mr. Mathis was homicide. But the investigation doesn't stop there. Further, the firearm that was found in the attic where the defendant was hiding, the 2 shell casings that were located at the scene close in proximity to where Mr. Mathis was found and ultimately shot and killed, and then the projectiles, the actual bullets that were removed from Mr. Mathis' body during the autopsy were all sent to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. And they were all sent to the firearms section or department of the GBI to be tested and compared to each other. And you will hear from the firearms examiner, Ms. Kelsey Nash, who received those items. She received the gun, she received the shell casings, and she received the projectiles that were taken from Mr. Mathis' body during the autopsy. And what she will tell you that during her comparison or analysis, as she test fired the firearm, was able to use those test fires to compare the shell casings from the scene as well as the projectiles from Mr. Demarco Mathis' body. And she was able to determine that those projectiles collected from the scene, and those shell casings collected from the scene, and the projectiles removed from Mr. Mathis' body were fired from the firearm that was found in the attic where the defendant was hiding when he was arrested. Now, the judge kind of talked to you a little bit about.
Yeah, these firearms, ballistics, we know it's a shit science. So they have it's yeah. I mean, in this case, it is probably one of the easiest things that persons have ever done when it comes to, I wonder if this bullet belongs to this gun. Now, it's still shit science. But sometimes the shit is, I don't know. Yeah,
The
Let's just
process
keep
and
listening.
procedures of this trial. And I ask you again to bear with us during it. I know it looked like that we're novices to using technology. I promise we're not. It's just at times doesn't want to cooperate, so we apologize. The judge reiterated or spoke to you about, I would like to reiterate the importance of your notes. Though Madam Court Reporter is taking everything we all say down and in her mind cursing us all out because we're all mumbling or not speaking loud enough. And as she takes it down, it's not where she's produced live. And when you go back to the deliberation room, you won't be able to access the transcripts that Madam Court Reporter is typing. Your notes are your transcripts. Your notes will be how you will work through the evidence and the testimony that's presented during this trial when you go back into the deliberation room. And what I want you to remember during the course of this trial is that Mr. Mathis, the witnesses, they're not on trial. The defendant is. And what the evidence will show is that there's absolutely no excuse or justification for the defendant's conduct on August 11th of 2024. And what the evidence will show is that he had absolutely no regard for human life. He had absolutely no concern for Mr. Mathis. His only concern was shooting him and then escaping responsibility. And what ultimately, after you hear all of the evidence over the next couple of days, you're going to know the end of this trial.
Okay, so it is a short trial. Next couple of days, next few days. All right. Yeah, comparative analysis. I mean, it's just fancy words. I looked at them both, looked the same. Oh, Jesus Christ.
This case is about the defendant's conscious decisions that he made on August 11th of 2024 when he shot and killed Mr. Mathis. The evidence will be clear, ladies and gentlemen. And I ask you to follow the evidence, follow the facts, listen to the testimony, and at the end, apply the law to everything that you learn through the course of this trial. And if you do that, the evidence will be clear. The state will have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that on August 11th, 2024, the defendant shot and killed Demarco Mathis. We ask that as you go through the evidence, as you apply the law, that you ultimately hold the defendant accountable for the calculated acts that he committed on August 11th, 2024. And at the end, myself and Mr. Rao will have the privilege to stand before you again and ask that you return a verdict that speaks the truth. And that after all the facts, all the evidence, that only the verdict, the only truth will be that the state has proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of each and every count charged in this indictment. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Abadi.
All right. That was the state's opening statement. I mean, when the evidence is there, you don't need to go all flowery and perfume and cherries. Here's the evidence. Here's the experts. Here's the witness. Now, it did take a while. But I mean, I've heard a lot worse. He could have opened with reciting the Jungle Book. Yeah, I mean, it's not intriguing. It's not that I am drawn in, but this is a run-of-the-mill trial this far. I have no idea what to expect of this. Let's listen to the defense.
Ms. Wood, you're going to be given an opening at this time?
Yes.
We are ready for you, please.
Mr. Abadi told you that Xavier Mosley made a decision that day, and he did make a decision to defend himself. Mr. Abadi had some photos and still images on his PowerPoint. Sure, there's a video. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm gonna tell you there's a video. You'll be able to see it. But I want to ask you throughout the course of this trial, please pay attention to what's not on the video. What was said leading up to that moment. What do you not see? All of that is reason to doubt. And I want you to pay attention, keep an open mind. Think about that as you go to the jury room to deliberate at the end of this trial. I also want to ask you, don't be distracted. Judge already told you, Xavier has a past, who doesn't? He's a convicted felon. So is Donald Trump. Please do not be distracted.
What? Wait a minute. What did you say there?
Judge already told you, Xavier has a past, who doesn't? He's a convicted felon. So is Donald Trump.
That's an interesting. That's an interesting thing to say in an opening statement. I did not have Donald Trump mentioned in a Fulton County murder trial from the defense. I did not have that on my bingo card. Oh. Okay. Didn't expect that. Okay. I really didn't expect that.
Please do not be distracted by that fact. Now, we spent a long time yesterday asking you questions. You're probably wondering, there's got to be a better way to get the jury in 2025. But being a commission is not the same as getting it right. And the truth of the matter is we spent the whole day yesterday asking you all questions to make sure that you're the right people for these elections. People who are intelligent, people who are open-minded, people who can sit here and listen to the witnesses that get on the witness stand, take notes, evaluate the evidence, and then at the end of the trial, when the judge gives you the law, you can take that law, apply it to the facts, see the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I think those people are good. And so I'm just going to humbly ask you to keep an open mind this week, take lots of notes, ask questions, and then at the end of the trial, when we go to the jury, think about what's missing. What did the state not prove? The state of Georgia has burden of proof here. And it is the highest burden in all the land, beyond a reasonable doubt. And so if you go back there, I want you to think about what did they not do? Type into that burden. When you're back there, if you have questions that don't have answers, if your minds are unsettled or wavering, that is reasonable doubt. And you must acquit. So again, I ask that you pay attention, keep an open mind, and at the end of this trial, you'll see that the only verdict available by law is not guilty. Thank you.
Okay, that was a classic. Listen to all the evidence, keep an open mind. And yeah, of course, we will. But as you also heard, she didn't point to anything specific, in my opinion. Okay, but what are we actually looking for? What are you trying to point out to us? Except that President Trump apparently is a convicted felon. This is a defense when you have more or less nothing. There was no insanity defense that I caught, or self-defense as I caught. So this, okay. It's a run-of-the-mill trial. So, yeah. Yeah, as Matthew says, to the effect of he has a past, a convicted felon. So is DJT. Yeah. All right, that's a choice. I was so caught by surprise when, yeah, that was strange. That was, I did not expect that. I really didn't. Yeah, that's a choice. That's a choice. All right, let's move on.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Mr. Abadi, you ready with your first witness?
Mr. Ryan, thank you, Bob. Field protective specialist, Little.
Okay. Good morning.
Praise be. Raise your right hand before you sit. We swear affirm that the testimony will be able to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth of God. Lord, you have a seat. Can you state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Cherie Littles. You say you want me to spell it?
Yes, please.
SHERIELITTLES.
Ms. Littles, can you move the microphone so that it is closer to being in front of you? Great. Okay. And you can probably stay that far away, but if you're too quiet, we'll need to get you to lean in a little.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you, tell the jurors, how you are currently employed?
I'm a field protective specialist at the Marta Police Department.
Okay. And, how long have you, worked with the Marta Police Department?
5 years.
And, have you always worked, as a field protective specialist, in those 5 years employed with the Marta Police Department?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors, what is a field protective specialist?
A field protective specialist is a person that observes and reports. I work with Marta Police Department. So I basically patrol stations. So whatever station I'm at or I'm assigned, I patrol the entire station and I patrol property. I actually observe and report if there's any type of
Okay, I'm not used to what cops do and don't do, but is this a division of law enforcement that only patrols bus stops? Okay. All right.
issue that happens in the station, if there's a crime that's being committed against people or property, I report that to the proper authorities.
And, can you tell the jurors, how, I guess, are you assigned, to different, MARTA stations, I guess, during your employment?
Ah, she's not a cop.
Could you repeat?
How are you assigned to a specific
She's
station?
Security guard. Okay.
On any
Thank
given
you.
day, or the last 5 years have you been at one station the entire time as you've been employed?
So we're assigned to different stations. I've worked multiple stations throughout my last 5 years at MARTA.
Can you explain to the jurors what hours do you work while being a specialist at any given time during your employment?
Well, currently our hours are from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. I do come in and do overtime, but most of the time the hours are 6 p.m. to 2 a.m.
And has your hours been 6 p.m. From 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Since August 11th of 2024?
That's correct.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors on August 11th of 2024, do you remember which Marta station you were assigned to kind of patrol and observe anything going on?
I was assigned to the Arts Center station.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors that the Arts Center station is it located at 1255 West Peachtree Street here in Atlanta?
That's correct.
And is that address here within the bounds of Fulton County?
Correct.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors, do you remember, did you start at 6 p.m.?
I did start at 6 p.m.
And when you started that day, I guess, can you tell the jurors how, I guess, your shift gets started and what your first steps or duties are when you begin your shift?
So when I first arrived at my station, I patrol all areas. So I will I'll start in the bus loop. For instance, the Arts Center station, there's a bus loop, there's a platform, there's a concourse, and there's multiple other areas that you can patrol on the property. So it just depends on wherever I choose to move out, but I patrol all areas of the Arts Center station.
Okay. And can you, I know you talked about it a little bit, but can you kind of explain to the jurors while you're patrolling and while you're working, what are you looking for, or how are you specifically doing your job when you're on duty?
I'm looking for suspicious activity, anything that seems off, anything that is out of the ordinary. We know that we have a lot of people coming through the stations, so it may be things that are not typical. If they typically happen, that is not, how do I say this? I'm looking for suspicious behavior. That's the point of my job.
When you say suspicious behavior, what kind of behavior are you looking for?
People loitering on the property, people not using the property for what it's intended for, if they're not catching a bus or a train, if they're not waiting for an Uber or a Lyft, anything that's out of the ordinary, if anything that is going to be a hindrance to the business or to the safety of the people that use the system.
Okay. And now you work for the police department, but are you a police officer?
No, I'm not.
Do you carry a gun when you're on duty?
No.
Now, when you're on duty in uniform, I guess let's describe it to the jury. What does your uniform look like?
It's blue and black.
Okay. And do you have a radio or a way to keep in touch with members of your team, with the field protective specialist team, as well as other members of the Marta Police Department?
That's correct.
Okay. How do you remain in contact with the members of Marta and the Marta Police Department?
I do have a department issued radio, and I use that every day. That is basically my job, is to listen to the radio. If I get calls, if I get dispatched to a call, I will answer a call. And if there's something that happens at the station, I'm required to report what happens to the station through my radio.
Explain to me, when you say you're dispatched to a call, who would dispatch you to a call, and what kind of call would you go to or be dispatched to?
That will be, if I receive a call, it will be through police communications. They will dispatch me. They will call my beat assignment, which is basically the station. They'll call me, and then I'll respond to that call. And then once the call is over, I'll just let my radio communications know that the call has been handled.
And for example, are some of the calls you or receive or dispatch do they involve things that are related to customer service and things of that nature for people using Marta?
That's correct.
Okay, can you tell the jurors a little bit about that?
Okay, anytime I receive a call from police communications, it will be a call dealing with opening the restrooms at the stations. If there's a patron that needs assistance with a breeze card or a breeze machine, anything like that. If they need an ambulance, just things like that, I'm there to help.
Would you describe or say that your duties are to make sure the Marta experience is good for all that ride or use it?
That's correct.
Now, can you explain to the jury if you see some criminal activity occurring? Let's say drugs being used, what you suspect being drug sales occurring. What do you do in regards to observing and seeing those things?
So once I have observed that particular activity, I will step back and relay that to the radio communications, and then they will dispatch a police officer that is in the area to my location, and they will handle the call from there.
And once you have radioed to communications and officers are dispatched, do you assist in any way once the officers arrive?
If need be. Once I've put that call on the radio, and the officer has showed up, my job is done.
And prior to an officer with the Marta Police Department showing up, if you radio.
I don't know why. I understand they have to explain her work duties and some of the things, but to this amount of detail, why couldn't this be stipulated to? And stipulated means that both parties agrees. Yeah, we don't have to go through everything as long as the summary is okay.
To communications with that you either seeing drugs being used or drugs being sold, do you try to intervene yourself or stop the person you suspect of committing illegal activities?
No.
All right, can you explain to the jury why not?
Because I'm not a uniformed officer. My job is to observe and report.
Okay. And would you report things of, I guess, the last area that the individuals you suspected of doing illegal activity were, and their path of travel and things of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk about the Arts Center transit station. Can you explain to the jurors, is it a large station? Is it a small station? Tell me about the Arts Center.
So the Arts Center station is a pretty large station. There is the street level where there's the parking lot, and then you have the bus loop, and then you have the concourse area, and then underneath the concourse area is the platform.
And when you say the platform, what do you mean? What is a platform?
The platform is where the trains board, where you can catch a train.
Okay. And Your Honor, at this time, the state is going to tender what's been marked as state's exhibits 3, 40, 41, 42, and 43.
It's almost as if you heard
as,
me.
business records under OCGA 24-8803 and 24-9902. And specifically, Exhibit 3 is the CAD report. Exhibit 40 is the video surveillance for the Arts Center station. Exhibit 41 is the Marta train car 223 video surveillance. And then 42 is the video surveillance for the East Point station. And 43 is the Marta video surveillance for bus 1830 from August 11th, 2024.
So you're seeking to admit these 5 through a business record certification from a records custodian, not through Ms. Little's identification of those.
That's correct.
Okay, I think we talked about this already. Ms. Wood, any objection to the admission of those 5 Marta business records?
No objection.
They are all admitted.
That took a while. That's no, Dave, that's not the judge. That's the witness. She is
So
a
I want to show
security.
you, State's Exhibit 3 and an incident evidence. Do you recognize that as a CAD report or a call detail report for dispatch with Marta Communications?
Yes.
Okay, and is that State's Exhibit 3, that CAD report has been generated every time that you radio to communication things that you see that are suspicious or as it relates to customer service needing to be provided to customers?
So I have seen a CAD report before,
Yes.
just maybe once. But that's not something this is not something I would see. That's mostly for police officers to see.
let me ask you this question. Through the 5 years that you have been working at Marta, do you, when you, it's radio as a dispatcher to communication or dispatch, is that radio traffic then recorded in a report?
Yes.
Okay, like the one that you're looking at in States of the 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you tell the jurors a little bit about what you know as it relates to the art centers, the different cameras? Are there cameras at the art center?
Yes.
Can you kind of explain to the jurors the areas that are captured by video surveillance, Marta cameras?
So I don't know where all the cameras are, but for the most part, there are cameras in the bus loop. There are basically cameras everywhere. There's cameras in the bus loop. There's cameras on the concourse, which is the main area. There's cameras on the platform. There's cameras on all areas of a Marta property.
I want to show you. I over this. What? So if you'll just take a minute and look at state exhibits 4 through 12, and I apologize, Judge, I should have asked. Now approach the witness.
Yeah, both sides have continuing authority to approach witnesses.
You will look through state exhibits 4 through 12, and after you're done, look at them, just look at.
Well, Dave, thus far, the most exciting things was during the defense opening statement, where the defense did this standard: keep an open mind, listen to all the evidence, la 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 la. But then in the middle of it, since he is charged with the possession of a firearm as a felon, she says, you know the defendant have a past. He's a convicted felon. So is Donald Trump. Say, what? Oh, I mean, that took me a bit by surprise. That Donald Trump is being used almost like a character witness in the opening statement. Yes, my client is a convicted felon. So is Donald Trump. Yeah, okay. Oh.
Do you recognize photographs in stages of
I'm
4
going to
through
start
12?
playing this in
I do.
1.25.
And can you tell the jurors how you recognize what's in stages of 4 through 12?
That's the Art Center station.
And is it the same art center station that we talked about today and that you were patrolling and observing at 1255 Peachtree Street on August 11th of 2024?
That's correct.
And do the photographs in stages 4 through 12 fairly and accurately depict how the art center station looked when you were on duty on August 11th of 2024?
Yes.
At this time, I'm going to state with tender what's been marked as states exhibits 4 through 12 in evidence.
Ms. Wood, any objection?
No objection, Judge.
4 through 12 are admitted.
All right, and states exhibit 4, and we'll see in 4, 5, and 6. Can you tell the jurors what are we looking at here and where, as it relates to the art center station, is this?
So
It should also be on,
On
you
here.
can look at either place. You're welcome to look at the original or the one on the screen.
okay. So this sign, I don't know exactly where this is, but I know this is the Art Center station.
And can you tell the jurors, is there an entrance way that you enter from the street into the art center station, whether it be to go to the platform or the bus loop?
Yeah, so you can enter on the Art Center wayside, which is on the street level by the parking lot. You can enter in on the 15th Street side, which is right in the middle of downtown. It's right across from a gym.
And that we're looking at here, one of the entrances that
Yeah.
relates to the art center?
Yes.
Now, I want to show you states exhibit 6. And in State Exhibit 6, can you tell the jurors, you've described the Art Center and the different platforms and the bus loop area. What area are we looking at here in State Exhibit 6?
That's the bus loop.
Okay, and is State Exhibit 7 another photograph from a different angle of the bus loop?
Yes.
Okay, and can you explain to the jurors, based on the number of years you've been working with Marta, what can you tell the jurors which buses come to the bus loop? Is it specifically just Marta, or are there other buses from other counties?
So it's other buses from different counties. It may be Gwinnett. Well, apologize. Cobb County Link, the 103A, the Route 10. Different buses come through besides MARTA buses.
And is the bus loop, I guess, the largest kind of area for transit at the Art Center station?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you tell the jurors, if we go back to State Exhibit 6, if we're looking at the bus loop, do you see the in the top right-hand corner of State Exhibit 6, it looks kind of like a bridge type
Yes.
situation?
Yes.
Where did that bridge lead to or take you?
That bridge actually can take you to inside the station.
Okay.
If you're at the very far right corner, either you can come into the station or you can leave. Once you leave, you're going to be leaving out of that area to go right across the street to the Art Museum.
Okay. And in relation to what we're looking at in State Exhibit 6, and I'm sorry, I don't have the photograph of it. Can you kind of describe to the jurors, you talked about that there's also an area, a platform where trains are going to go.
Mhm.
Where is that in relation to the bus loop and the bridge that we're looking at in State Exhibit 6?
So the bus loop will be under the concourse. So you would have to go deep into the station to go to the platform.
And when you say it's under the concourse, would you travel upwards
You
to
would-
get to the concourse?
You would go down.
Down.
So the last picture you showed with the MARTA police vehicles,
Exhibit 7?
yeah. So if you would turn around towards the beginning of the tape by that pole, once you go backwards, there's an area we can go downstairs where you can take the escalator down into the concourse.
We should be able to. Will you draw a circle just in the general area where you're talking about? Now you would get to the area of the platform.
Well, I made an arrow.
Oh, arrow works too. So the red arrow that you drew kind of on the bottom middle area of the left-hand side of State Exhibit, that's the direction that you would go to get to the platforms?
Correct.
Okay. Now, can you explain to the jurors on the evening of August 11th of 2024, did you hear anything unusual that caused you to dispatch to communications?
I did.
Tell me a little bit about first where you were in the station and what you heard.
So I was on the concourse, which is between the West Peachtree and the bus loop fare gate. And I heard 2 possible gunshots. And once I heard that, I walked toward the bus loop fare gate and I went upstairs and then, which that led to the bus loop. And I was told by a patron that someone was laying down in the bus loop.
Okay. And did you, as you approached the area of the patron, did you see an individual laying down in the bus loop?
I did.
And in State Exhibit 7, do you see the area that the person was laying down when you encountered him or her?
Correct.
Okay. Was it a female or a male?
It was a male.
And if you could, on the screen in front of you, draw a circle or an arrow in State Exhibit 7 where you encountered someone laying on the bus loop floor. Okay, so I'm looking at State Exhibit 7. There's it looks like circles, kind of like a shell looking thing.
Yeah,
Right.
sorry about that.
To the middle of the exhibit to, I guess, the far end, right side of the bench.
Was it past those pillars? There are a bunch
No,
of pillars, or was it?
It's not past the pillars.
Hi,
It's
Derek.
before the pillars. So I'm sorry, my drawing is a little bad, but
No, it's fine. So it's on what looks like sidewalk area as opposed to what looks like street area where you
Yeah, it's-
saw the person laying down?
yes.
Let me show you a different angle. In State Exhibit 8, let me zoom in just a little bit. Do you see the bench that's contained within the time being taken in the middle of State Exhibit 8?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jurors, in this photograph, is that the area, that little gap between the column, the concrete pole, in the bench in the middle of State Exhibit 8, where you saw the person laying in the bus loop?
So on the other section, that's where it was, but it's not where you have it at right now.
Okay.
Where I had put that.
Let me go to
Yeah.
State Exhibit 9 for you. Well, I'm gonna skip to State Exhibit 11.
Yeah.
Is this a better photograph for you to identify exactly where you located?
Yes.
The male that was laying in the bus loop?
Correct.
Okay, and if you'll draw either an arrow or draw a big circle where he was. Okay. And can you tell the jurors, once you approached the melee and bus loop, kind of the first things that you observed, heard, things of that nature related to the person laying there?
So once I was told the person was laying there, I used my radio and let police communications know that I heard 2 possible gunshots. And as I was approaching the person in the bus loop, I put on the radio that the person was laying down, and I told them to start an ambulance for the person.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors while you were waiting for the ambulance to arrive, kind of what you're doing as it relates to the person who's laying there?
So first of all, I had to make sure my scene was clear. I'd make sure there was no shooter in the area because there was a lot of things that were not known. So all I could do was just wait until a uniformed police officer arrived. And I just basically just try to make sure if the person was responsive or not. And once I seen he wasn't responsive, I got on my radio and let radio know to step up the ambulance to make sure that they come a little bit quicker because I seen he wasn't really responding.
And can you tell the jurors after making that communication of dispatch to or through dispatch, did other officers from the Marta Police Department arrive?
That's correct.
Can you tell the jurors once you made that radio communication, was it something that was rather quick?
Yes.
I want to show you real fast State Exhibit 40, which is the Marta video surveillance or CCTV surveillance from the Arts Center station. Real fast, I can get it to share correctly. Okay, and this State Exhibit 40 at 8:58 in 17 seconds. I'm gonna hit play real fast. And when you arrived to this area, or is this the area that you have described and arrived where you found the male laying on the ground in the bus loop area?
Yes.
And when you arrived, you said you heard gunshots. Did you see anybody with a gun?
No.
And can you tell the jurors how quickly from when you heard the 2 gunshots or what you suspected to be gunshots, did you get to from where you were on the concourse to the bus loop that we're looking at here at State Exhibit 40?
Immediately.
Okay. And if you had to guess, did it take you 5 seconds, 10 seconds?
Probably less than 20 seconds.
Okay. And when you arrived to that area, did you see any individuals with a gun?
No.
And did you see anyone holding a gun over the male that you saw laying on the ground?
No.
And can you tell the jurors, you said when you arrived, the male was not on the alert?
No.
Okay. And when you arrived, was anybody else in the area of the male who was laying on the ground?
There was nobody in the area, but it was somebody standing across from him. It was just a bus operator.
And you said that once you heard the shot, you got there pretty quickly. At any point, did you see any firearm or any weapon on the male who was laying on the ground unconscious?
No.
Okay. And did you take a firearm from the male's book bag, waistband, any part of his clothing on August 11th of 2024?
No.
At any point, once you responded, did you see any sort of weapon or firearm in the area at all?
No.
Okay.
The video we just saw, Ms. Littles, the guy on the ground was writhing around a little bit. By the time you got there, he was not moving?
Yeah.
Okay. We also saw someone walking towards the camera. Did you encounter that person?
Mm-mm.
No?
No.
Okay.
Now, once officers arrived, did Officer McCollum see the first officer to respond to your dispatch?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury once he arrived, kind of what happened and what your role was as it related to what occurred on August 11th, 2024?
Well, once he arrived, he did CPR. My role was just to make sure the scene was clear and nobody else was coming to try to mess with the scene. So I kind of just did patrolling, just make sure everybody stayed out of the way.
And at any point while Officer McCollum was on scene, did you have to take any measures or life-saving measures related to the individual on the ground?
Yes. So once he left to get the AED, I was told by a supervisor to go and start CPR, and that's what I did.
What is an AED? What is that?
Basically, it's a defibrillator, just trying to get the heart pumping.
The thing that you put patches on the
Yes.
chest and you shot.
Yes.
And how long did you attempt to perform, or how long did you perform CPR in order to attempt to revive the man?
I did it until the ambulance showed up.
And once the medical professionals arrived, can you tell the jurors, did you go back to kind of making sure the scene was secure and things were not bothered or messed with?
That's correct.
How long did you remain at, I guess, the Arts Center following the arrival of other detectives with Marta as well as additional medical professionals?
I think I was probably there the whole night.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was your entire shift, were you supposed to work 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. at the Arts Center station?
Yes.
1 second. Thank you very much for your time. And council may have some questions for you.
Ms. Wood, Ms. Primovic, any questions for Ms. Littles?
No questions. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to ask about and not much for me to add. She was there to present what she saw and did, and present this is how the area looks like. It's not that uncommon that the prosecution has questions of his own. But it's weird that it's a bit weird. It is.
Any questions for Ms. Littles? Oh, seeing none? All right, ma'am, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. You are free to go.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break for lunch now. I know we haven't been going all that long, but it's long enough. If we had started at 9, we do our morning.
Yeah. Let's see if they had something to say, or if he.
Anything from the state before we break? You're good for witnesses the rest of the afternoon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Excellent. Ms. Wood, anything from the defense?
No, you're right.
All right.
For the purposes of this.
Or to what that question?
Oh. Okay, so yeah, Mr. Well, no, it's not Judge McAfee. This is Judge McBurney. This is Judge McBurney, and it seems like during the lunch in the trial, he is handling other cases. This can be interesting.
Very good. You want Mr. Francis standing between the two of them? All right, so you have them set up however you want. Okay. How are you doing? What'd you say? Hey, good afternoon. I asked you how you were doing. Good. Yeah. You right here. Let me do one more thing and we will get rolling. All right. Ms. Rivers, are you ready? We're talking about a different case right now. It's 25 SC 000816. It's State versus Mender and State versus Rogers. We have both young men out here with Mr. Francis on their behalf. We have Ms. Davis for the state. And before we dive into this any further, I'm gonna let you start, Mr. Francis, but I'll supplement as needed. What do you want to get on the record in terms of you representing both? You are Mr. Rogers' attorney of record. That I know. And Mr. Mender had Ms. Cabrera, a colleague of yours, as his attorney. Ms. Cabrera can't be here today, but you're here. She had told me that she spoke with Mr. Mender and that she saw no issue, especially since the defenses are not antagonistic and everyone is interested in entering a plea. And as I see what the recommendations are, shouldn't be all that controversial, but we still need to make a record that Mr. Mender is comfortable with you handling his plea and that Mr. Rogers has no objection to that.
Right. And you may recall, Your Honor, we put that on the record some time ago at a calendar call that we were in a business relationship together.
Yep.
And that we didn't see any conflict. There's no defenses in opposition.
No, I don't think there is in terms of you and Ms. Cabrera being counsel of record. I wasn't as close as I should have been. It's the fact that Ms. Cabrera is not here today.
Right. And I've explained that to Mr. Mender, and I believe he wants to go forward. Is that correct, Mr. Mender? You want to go forward with me standing in for your lawyer?
Yes? Okay.
And you're okay with that, Mr. Rogers?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, great. Mr. Mender, if anything ever changes, let me know. But Mr. Francis is here as your advocate as well. And so if you have questions about what's going on or you're confused about something, you can certainly ask me. You should feel free to ask Mr. Francis as well. If at any point you start to feel like, well, wait, you're not advocating for me. Let me know. I don't think that's going to be an issue based on how this is going to resolve and what I know about Mr. Francis's ability to articulate on behalf of both you and Mr. Rogers. Okay. And Mr. Rogers, you have no concerns about Mr. Francis handling both pleas today? No? Okay, great. So to both of you, Mr. Mender and Mr. Rogers, I need you, when you're answering the questions, to make sure you answer verbally as well. You're welcome to shake your head or nod. Make sure you answer out loud and loudly so that Ms. Rivers can hear you. Ms. Davis is going to swear you both in a moment and ask you a bunch of questions. She'll ask each question just once. So she'll say, state your name. And then she'll say, Mr. Rogers and Mr. Mender. She'll go in the same order each time. And so when you hear your name, whatever your answer is to that question, yes, 19, 32, whatever it is, please share your answer. And then she'll turn to you, Mr. Mender, and not repeat the question. She'll just want your answer to what that question was. If you don't remember what the question was, let us know, and I'm sure she'll repeat it. Does that work for you, Mr. Rogers?
Yes, sir.
Does it work for you, Mr. Mender? Okay, I need you to say yes or no, or I don't know, no, mm-hms, okay? All right, good. Ms. Davis, when you are ready.
Please raise your right hand. Both of you. Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide today before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rogers, please state your true and correct legal name.
Monte Rogers.
Can you,
Monte Jamal Rogers.
can you spell your first and middle name for the record?
My first name, Jermonta. Can you spell my last name?
Your middle name?
Jamal.
Okay, thank you. And you put your hand down. Mr. Mender, please spell your, state your true and correct legal name and spell it for the court.
QUANARDMENDER.
Okay, and what's your name?
Bernard Mender.
Thank you. Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine, Mr. Rogers?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Mender?
No.
Is there any medication that you normally take that you have not been given today, Mr. Rogers?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Mender?
No, ma'am.
How old are you and how far have you gone in school, Mr. Rogers?
I'm 14 and I'm in high school, 9th grade. Shoot, 10th grade.
Mr. Mender?
15 and I'm in the 10th grade.
Mr. Rogers, did you say you're going into the 10th grade, or you said I should be in the 10th grade?
Going to 10th grade.
Okay.
Mr. Rogers, what high school were you attending?
Washington High School, Booker T. Washington.
Mr. Mender?
Going to Banneker.
Say that one again.
Banneker High.
Banneker.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language, Mr. Rogers? Mr. Mender?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a United States citizen, Mr. Rogers?
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you are charged with the following offenses for Mr. Rogers in 25 SC 000816? The state is moving to null pros or dismiss the armed robbery count, and we are proceeding on count 2, aggravated assault, and count 3, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Do you understand that's what you're charged with, Mr. Rogers?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mender, in 25 SC 00816, the state is moving to null pros the armed robbery count. The state is also reducing the aggravated assault count to reckless conduct. That is OCGA 16560, which is a misdemeanor. And the state is moving to null pros the third count, possession of a firearm during the commission of felony. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges? And if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney, Mr. Francis and Ms. Cabrera, about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charges of this indictment, including any potential defenses?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need more time to discuss this case with your attorney?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with his and her services?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Attorney Francis, do you waive formal reading of the indictment and any and all defects therein for the purposes of this plea?
Yes.
Do you remember having been arrested on these charges?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, the state is unaware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges. Attorney Francis, are you aware of any outstanding warrants related to this matter?
No, I'm not.
Has your attorney advised you the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge to which you're pleading to today, Mr. Rogers?
Yes, ma'am.
The maximum, well, this sentence time frame for aggravated assault is 1 year to 20 years. Possession of a firearm is 5 years consecutive. Mr. Mender, the sentence maximum is 12 months. Are you aware of that as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that today you're entering a negotiated plea of guilty, which means the state will recommend a sentence to the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that the court is not required to accept the state's recommended sentence?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand the court has a right to sentence you to the maximum possible sentence on each charge?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as other jurisdictions in federal courts?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you're not a United States citizen, a guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial would? And that this is true regardless of any advice by your attorney or anyone else?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use, receive, possess, or transport a firearm or use a firearm in a crime, you will be guilty of a felony, which may carry a sentence from 1 to 15 years in prison?
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
For example, your guilty plea may affect the right to vote, to hold public office, to serve on a jury, to obtain a passport, to receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up the following rights: the right to a trial by jury,
Yes, ma'am.
the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
the right to confront witnesses against you,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
the right to the assistance of counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at a trial of your case,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
the right to the presumption of innocence,
Yes.
the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence,
Yes.
the right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
the right to have the charges against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt,
Yes.
the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Do you understand that you may have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Do you understand that you have only 4 years from today for a felony charge and 12 months from today for a misdemeanor charge to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this guilty plea?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, how do you plead to indictment 25 SC 000816 to an aggravated assault and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony? Mr. Rogers, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Mr. Mender, how do you plead to indictment 25 SC 000816 to the count of reckless conduct?
Guilty.
Has anyone forced you, threatened you, or promised you anything to get you to enter this guilty plea?
Ma'am.
No.
Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you're in fact guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with the full knowledge of the charges against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Judge, I believe the facts would bear out at trial that on November 26, 2024 at 41 10th Street in Atlanta, Georgia in Fulton County, that officers responded from the Marta Police Department to a shots fired called at the Marta Midtown Station. Upon arrival, officers observed the victim, Mr. Udon Holly, who was bleeding profusely from gunshot wounds to his right and left thigh. Marta police officers reviewed CCTV video surveillance footage, which captured the events leading to the shooting. It appears that the victim grabbed a cell phone and a charger that belonged to one of the defendants. They attempted to retrieve that cell phone and charger. And one of the defendants, and not the defendants before the court today, Mr. Horn, who's entered a plea, did shoot, in fact, Mr. Holly, the victim. Officers shortly were able to apprehend the juvenile defendants outside of the Marta station. And so we are recommending for Mr. Rogers to the aggravated assault 5 years to serve 1 year, for the possession of firearm 5 years consecutive probation, so for a total of 10 years with 1 year to serve, that Mr. Rogers obtain his GED or enroll in school, that he completes 40 hours community service, and that he participate with At Promise Center or Next Level Boys. We are recommending for Mr. Mender that his case be transferred back to juvenile court. We are reducing the aggravated assault charge to reckless conduct. Mr. Mender did not touch the gun, provide the gun, or shoot the victim in this case.
And tell me, Mr. Rogers, your theory of the case is that the evidence would show that Mr. Rogers was the one who brought the gun to the situation, gave it to Mr. Horn. I mean, video shows Mr. Horn was the shooter. That I remember very clearly, but it was Mr. Rogers who brought the gun to the situation.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, Mr. Rogers did provide the gun that Mr. Horn used.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Ms. Singleton, I appreciate you being here on short notice. What can you tell me about Mr. Rogers' juvenile history?
Mr. Rogers has 2 open cases. He has a loitering and prowling from April the 28th of 2024. That is the date the complaint was filed with the court. That case is still open. And he has a September the 14th, 2024 theft by receiving 2 counts, possession of a handgun by a person under 18, obstruction, possession of a weapon during a crime, and stop sign and yield sign. Both of those cases are scheduled for juvenile court on July the 2nd of this year.
What, in your experience, typically happens with those kinds of cases in the face of today's likely outcome?
I've been in contact with his juvenile court lawyer, Ms. Shimmer, and they were waiting to see what we were going to do here. So initially that was going to be a status date, but I suspect it'll be more of a disposition based on the my recent experience with juvenile court in a situation like this is based on the conditions that are being placed on the sentence, supervision by myself, the Promise Center and the services provided there. They're likely to just adopt the same conditions.
Okay. And Mr. Rogers has been in custody for roughly how long? Do we, go ahead.
I'm sorry, on November the 27th of 2024.
Okay, so 7 months-ish we're coming up on.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
got it. And what about Mr. Mender's juvenile history?
He has no history.
Okay, got it. Mr. Francis, we can handle your clients in whatever order you'd like.
Oh, Judge, we'll do Mr. Rogers first. We would ask that you accept the plea as negotiated. His mom is here. Stand up, Mom. And Judge, it is our understanding that since he will be in DJJ, he will serve day for day. So he will not be released until November. My understanding is that he has acclimated well over there as far as school. So that way he will be able to stay in school there. And then we can have a plan for him as he transitions out in November, because that's going to be sort of interesting how that's going to work. And I'll talk to Ms. Hudson about that because that's almost the end of the semester. So,
Right.
But if he could, I guess, finish the semester, maybe take his finals outside,
Right.
then he could transition in January back into a high school.
Sure.
I think he'll be able to go back to Washington High. He'll have to go to alternative high school. Is that correct?
He possibly will have to go to alternative school, but because of the deduction, he has a better chance of getting allowed to go back to traditional.
Right.
Oh, the reduction you said?
Yes.
Yes,
So
okay.
the armed robbery would have put him into the alternative school. By that being removed, he has a better chance of going back to traditional.
Okay, one more question for you about both defendants, Ms. Singleton. I forgot to ask, do you have information on how, we'll start with Mr. Rogers, did in DJJ custody?
My understanding is that there was no problems with either party.
Either one. Okay, thank you. All right, back to you.
That's my understanding as well.
Mhm.
And so it actually can work out pretty well for him to continue to do well
Mhm.
in school there and then transition back. And I've talked to him, when I first met him, he said, I had a gun because people do things to me.
Yeah.
So for protection. And unfortunately, he lives in that sort of environment. But I've tried to impress upon him that he cannot carry a weapon. And hopefully from this experience, he will be able to abstain from doing that. So we ask that you accept the plea as negotiated.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Mender.
Same, Judge. We ask that you accept the plea as negotiated. You saw the videotape. Mr. Mender was just there. He didn't have a weapon, anything. He was just sort of there, and he got caught up in it. I don't think I'm not aware of Mr. Mender having any type of history. And I think to me, he appears to be a great kid. And I think this is probably the right resolution. And hopefully he won't be around any kids that have guns or anything. And you got to remember, Judge, this sort of started out as a misunderstanding.
It did, and it's come to light. I mean, it wasn't clear whose phone it was.
Right.
It has become clear whose phone it was. So, and even Mr. Horn benefited from the state's realization of
Right.
how this played out. So it started as a misunderstanding. It ended with someone getting shot.
That's true. That's true. And I think it was a little more to it, but I can't prove that. But our victim was very interested in this case. I mean, he had a previous case of his own down here in Fulton County. And when I first met my client, he indicated that the victim had said some things of a sexual nature to the kids. And so I can't prove that. That's not on video.
Right.
So,
Or it's not on audio.
I think it's right. It's not audio. I think it's an unfortunate situation. I hope Mr. Rogers learns that he's got to learn to work with his hands.
Yep.
Baseball
bat, something.
Yeah. Well, maybe not baseball bat.
Okay. Well, not a gun.
Yeah, not a gun.
That's the key part.
Just hands.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can keep him safe. He's a bigger kid. At 14, and sometimes bigger kids get preyed upon. Just that simple. I worry about Mr. Mender. He's a smaller kid. And so these guys have to take the right steps to protect themselves. So I think these are the right resolutions, and I think the state will that.
Okay. Is there anyone here for Mr. Mender?
I'm sorry.
Okay. I recognize, it's okay. I know you're filling in, but his mom has been very interested and active in the case as well. So I appreciate you being here again. All right. Mr. Rogers, anything you want to add? You don't have to say anything at all, but it's your plea, not mine. And so if there are things you want me to know about you, about this situation, anything else, now's the time. Okay. Same for you, Mr. Mender. Anything you want to share?
No, sir.
Okay. Ms. Singleton, how will it work for Mr. Mender's plea is one of, it sounded like what was handed to me was 2 years probation. I was confused by that, but things work differently in juvenile court because he's pleading to a misdemeanor, which of course has at most 12 months, but maybe if it's a delinquency finding or whatever is processed down in juvenile court, it can be a longer sentence than that.
Yeah.
I want to know what I'm pronouncing today for two reasons. I don't want to say something on the record that makes it difficult for juvenile court to do what everyone has been discussing. Two, just as important, it seems like Mr. Mender ought to get out right away based on this disposition, because the state's asking for a probated or supervisory sentence. And so I don't want Mr. Mender stuck because I articulate things the wrong way today.
So what's gonna happen to Mr. Mender's case, Your Honor, is that once the paperwork is filed into the clerk, I'll send it down to juvenile court. He'll be placed on a detention hearing calendar probably within about 5 days. At that time, they'll decide whether or not to release him.
Okay.
As far as the conditions that are listed in what would be considered an agreement suggestion by juvenile court, they will do their own screening and make a decision as whether to accept those conditions or do something less.
So this is sort of like me telling something to the Department of Corrections. They'll say, that's interesting, but we'll figure out from our broader experience with participants like this, what's in the best interest of the child.
That's correct.
Okay. And I think, Ms. Davis, you submitted a proposed order.
I have, Judge. I will amend it though to 1 year though, since it is a misdemeanor.
Okay, that's fine. Could someone who is found delinquent in connection with a misdemeanor in juvenile court be given supervision that exceeds 1 year?
Not likely.
Okay,
But
all
they
right.
have the ability to supervise. Their supervision decisions are not just based on the charge, it's also based on the background.
Sure. Which sounds like is favorable to Mr. Mender, given that he has no background and a mom who's active in his life, which is good. Okay. And then for Mr. Rogers, in pronouncing his sentence, and that's going to go on a standard adult disposition, so I'm familiar with that. He ought to get credit for time served from that date you mentioned, which was November 27th of 2024.
That's correct, Your Honor. So for his sentence, the sentence will need to state that the defendant to receive credit from that exact date.
Yep.
In order for them to make the calculations. It will be day for day,
Mhm.
as the court is aware. It will also need to state that upon completion of the sentence that he be released to myself, because he will then be on probation with me, as the court is aware, the courtesy supervision until he is 17.
Right.
The sentence still lasts that long.
And because he will not be in custody, do we still have a hearing at age 17 to see what comes next? Or that's only if someone's in custody that there's I'm turning 17, what's next?
Only during that.
Okay, all right.
But I forgot to mention first offender. He's first offender eligible.
Okay, he is. Have you talked to Mr. Rogers about first offender?
Yes.
That was the conversation?
Right. We had a discussion earlier.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, I'm going to talk with you real briefly about first offender as well. You qualify for it. It's mostly an opportunity. It means if you get through this sentence with no big hiccups, then you're not a convicted felon, which is a good thing not to be at age 14. It carries a risk, though. You are young. You are still figuring out how to navigate this complicated world. And if you mess up while you are under sentence, and by mess up, I should be clear, you get arrested for something that is a felony. It's kind of serious. You're around guns again. You take something that doesn't belong to you. You've got illegal drugs. I'm not saying you do any of this, but if you do and you get arrested for it, not only will you have a new case, but you'll come back here and we'll talk about whether your first offender status should be revoked, which would mean we turn this into a conviction, and I can resentence you up to the maximum here, which would be 25 years to serve. I'm not saying that's what would happen, but I am saying that if we're together again in a couple of years and you got caught with a gun, I'm just using the simplest one that will get you into the most amount of trouble. You get caught with a gun, I will very likely take away first offender status, resentence you, and part of that sentence will be several years in custody. That's how toxic you and guns are going to be. But it's hard to know for sure how you're going to handle things as you grow up. Do you feel like first offender is a good idea for you, or is it a risk that you're not sure you want to take?
It's good for
It's good for you. Okay. Well, you are in the best position to make that choice because you see further down the road than Mr. Francis or I do right now. Okay. Well, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Rogers. I find there's a factual basis for your plea. You did have a gun on you. Someone who's 14 can't. Got to be 18 in Georgia to have a gun. You saw what happened. You didn't shoot anyone, but things got sideways between Mr. Horn and Mr. Holly. And regardless of what Mr. Holly said, getting shot's not justified. And Mr. Horn's dealing with that. He's going to be in custody for a long time. But it was your gun he was using. And you are going forward, like Mr. Francis said, need to learn how to use your mouth or your hands in terms of dealing with conflict. I do find there's a factual basis and that your plea is knowing and voluntary. Knowing means you've understood what we talked about. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
And voluntary means no one's forced you to enter the plea. You agree with that? Okay, I'll accept your plea. I'm sentencing you pursuant to the Probation Options Management Act. All that means is that while you're on probation, which you will be for a while, if you have a small issue on probation, like you miss a meeting, you don't have to come see me for that. You and probation will figure out how to handle that. But if it's more serious, arrest for anything, that comes back to me. And remember your first offender situation. Mr. Francis, do you authorize someone on my staff to sign the indictment in Mr. Rogers' case indicating his guilty plea?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes, Judge.
And Mr. Rogers, is it okay if we electronically sign for you indicating your guilty plea?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll do that. I'm going to follow the recommendation. On count one, there is no sentence. That's been dismissed. Count two, the sentence is 5 years to serve 1 year with the balance probated. You will get credit from November 27th of last year through today. So you have a few more months you'll need to serve. You will serve in DJJ custody. When you are released, you will be released to the supervision of Ms. Singleton from our court's pretrial services. You'll need to complete.
Yeah, it seems like they chased away a PDF. And so they got probation.
40 hours of community service. I'm actually going to pick for you. You'll also need to participate in the At Promise Center programming. You will need to either be enrolled in high school, or if for whatever reason, logistically, that doesn't work out, you will need to, within 3 weeks of being released, enroll in a GED program. All right. And it will be a condition of your probation that you either get that GED certification or you graduate from high school. You'll also need to have no contact with Mr. Hawley, it's the guy who got shot, and no contact with either of your co-defendants, Mr. Horn or Mr. Mender. Are they related to you in any way?
No, sir.
Okay, then no contact with either of them. Any other conditions you had in mind, Ms. Davis?
No, just there were a couple of other co-defendants, which I included in the order for Mender.
Okay.
Did not include in the terms here.
Let me see what we had in Mr. Horn's plea. I didn't make it in. There are going to be two other names that you'll need to stay away from. Two other young men you were with that day. Were you related to either of them?
No, sir.
Okay, so staying away from them should not be an issue. I'll get those names out of the other order. Mr. Francis, anything else on behalf of, then there's count three. That has to be 5 years. It has to be consecutive, but I will probate that. So your total sentence, Mr. Rogers, as negotiated by your lawyer, is 10 years to serve 1 year with the balance probated. That's a lot of probation, but I will tell you this. If you are doing well on probation, probation is going to come to me to say, could we first make it unsupervised? So that would be after a few years of things going well. And then eventually they may say, could we close this case out early? And I'm always open to that because that's a sign that you're doing exactly what you told us you're going to do, which is make better decisions as you go forward. Mr. Francis, anything else on behalf of Mr. Rogers?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Singleton, I don't know that I've said all the things I need to say in terms of special conditions. Will you coordinate with Ms. Nelson to make sure we've got the right language in the final disposition so that it's as seamless as possible? You providing courtesy supervision while Mr. Rogers is under 17?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
The only element makes it on the record was that he would receive credit for his probated sentence with the supervision that I provide.
Yes.
He put on there, Your Honor.
Okay.
And the second thing was that he will be supervised by me, but released to his mother. The 27th is actually Thanksgiving Day.
Oh,
So
wow.
it would be better that he be released to his mother.
Sure.
Her name, Tarika Lockhart.
Okay. Ms. Lockhart, you still here? You're going to be free on Thanksgiving to pick your young man up? Good. That'll be a good Thanksgiving thing for the family. Be the best meal you've had in a while, Mr. Rogers.
So release her.
Yes. So physically released to your mother, Ms. Lockhart, but you'll be supervised by Ms. Singleton, and we'll make sure it's reflected on the final disposition, but it'll be on the record now. All the time you are under the supervision of Ms. Singleton is credited towards those 9 years of probation. So
If you wonder, hey, what happened to the trial? Well, it's lunchtime, and we will catch up. We will catch up, and Judge McBurney is doing other cases while the jury is away on lunch. And this is plea deal with one juvenile and one adult who apparently used a gun to chase away a PDF. And, probation. I would get, don't take the law into your own hands. That's not advice, because now the adult one has a record.
I don't know if the math will be exactly right, but you basically start at 15. You have about 2 years of supervision under Ms. Singleton. That would leave 7 years remaining for adult probation. And Ms. Singleton will help with that transition, and then you'll be supervised by an adult felony probation officer. All right. Turning to you, Mr. Mender, I find there's a factual basis for your plea as well. You were there. That's about as bad as it got. But you were part of the group that surrounded this guy and didn't leave him alone, and ultimately he got shot. And so I think reckless conduct is a fair way to describe what happened. It's nothing more serious than that, but it's also something. And I hope you take away from being out of commission in this way, that you need to be careful with whom you spend time. And if things start heading in a direction that looks dangerous or violent, you head in a different direction so that you get out of that scenario. But I think there's a factual basis for a reckless conduct plea. I also find that your plea is knowing and voluntary, meaning you've understood what we talked about and no one forced you to enter this plea. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
All right, then we'll go forward. Count 1's been dismissed. Count 3's been dismissed. Count 2 has been reduced to misdemeanor reckless conduct. And I will accept your plea and refer your case back to Fulton County Juvenile Court. I'll sign paperwork to that effect as soon as I can, today or early tomorrow. You heard what Ms. Singleton said, hopefully. You will be calendared there in juvenile court in just a few days for what they call a detention calendar, and a juvenile court judge will figure out the next steps in your case. I hope, going on the record with it, that one of the first steps would be to release you, because I don't intend that your sentence involve any more custody, meaning time in the DJJ facility, than you've already served, which is just as long as Mr. Rogers had. It's half a year at least now. So I get out real soon, and then your sentence will be what the juvenile court judge determines is appropriate, and the supervision will flow out of juvenile court. It will not be through Ms. Singleton. It won't be through adult felony probation. Okay? Any questions about any of that?
No.
Ms. Singleton, anything more I need to put on the record in connection with Mr. Mender, since you told me I have no sway whatsoever as to what's going to happen in juvenile court?
No, Your
Okay. Ms. Davis, anything else in connection with Mr. Mender?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Francis?
No, Your
All right. I appreciate you parachuting in here. This is a week when you're doing other things. Gentlemen, good luck going forward. This was a rough way to start 14 and 15. I hope 16, 17, 18 are much more boring. Okay. I hope I don't bump into you guys anytime soon other than at school. Okay. Oh, Mr. Mender. Right. Because we did 2 of these. Mr. Mender, you also need to sign your indictment indicating your guilty plea to a misdemeanor, but we do that electronically now. Is it okay if someone signs your name to that indictment? Okay. Pardon me?
Yes.
Right. And Mr. Francis, we can sign for you?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Davis?
Yes, Judge.
Excellent. Now I think we're done.
All right, let's get to the actual trial.
It says closely when exhibits are up.
And,
Well, here we go. Let's see who this is.
Okay, can you raise your right hand? You swear affirm that testimony you will give is the truth, the whole truth, and that's what you have done. Right, good. Put your hand, see? Can you state and spell your name correctly?
My name is Michael Thompson, MICHAELTHOMPSON.
and you're staring at your name and I mispronounced it. Not hard work. How are you today?
Fine.
And can you tell the jurors, sir, how are you currently employed?
I work for Cobb County Transit Authority.
Oh, this is the bus
You've,
driver.
been with Cobb County Transit.
18 months.
And can you tell the jurors, what do you do for Cobb County Transit?
I'm a transit bus driver.
And how long have you been driving buses in general?
About the last 4 years.
Okay. And has it always been with Cobb County Transit?
No, before that, I was with Cobb County School District.
And can you tell the jurors, were you employed with the Cobb County Transit on August 11th of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And can you describe to the jurors how big or how large is the bus that you drive for the Cobb County Transit system?
I drive basically a general transit bus that you see on the road in the downtown area here. I can pretty much give you like how many feet or whatever, whatnot, but it's just a general transit bus.
Should I ask a better question? What's the capacity for the buses that you drive?
The capacity is 60. 60.
50 people?
Yeah.
And can you tell the jurors, when you are working, what are your normal hours of work?
Evenings, 4 to 12.
4 p.m. to 12 a.m.?
Correct.
Okay. And have you always driven that shift in the 18 months that you have been driving for the County transit system?
Yes.
Now, can you tell the jurors what is, I guess, the typical route that you take? So where do you start and then where do you go when you start at 4 p.m.?
Basically, my route, I start in Marietta, at the Marietta transit station, and I make my way through Cumberland to 75 South to the Arts Center, downtown Atlanta.
And I don't need a specific address, but you said you start in Marietta. And what general, I guess, can you describe where in Marietta you start, where the Marietta, I guess?
Basically, the Marietta Transit Authority, that is my starting point. That is where I load up.
Is that the big lot by the baseball fields? It's like Aviation or Airport Road or whatever it's called.
Basically, it's South Marietta Drive. I start there, and I work my way past the airport, the Aviation Airport, all of that, and I make my way down Carl Parkway, south.
And you said you work your way to Cumberland, and I think you said to the Art Center.
Yeah, Cumberland, and I get on 75 South to downtown to the Arts Center. And the Arts Center is my end destination.
And after you get to the Art Center, do you go from the Art Center back to the Marietta transit station that you talked about?
Correct.
That route you do from 4 to midnight?
Correct.
Okay. And was that the route that you were driving back on August 11th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors about what time, if you can recall, did you get to the Marta Arts Center station on August 11th, 2024?
That would have been in the evening, approximately, if I recall, like 8:50, 8:45, somewhere in that range. Yeah.
And when you get there, can you tell the jurors what do you do once you arrive at the Art Center?
I allow the passengers to disembark. I check the bus, and I lay over for a little while, and then I'll allow passengers to embark on the bus to get comfortable before we depart.
How long would you say your layover, your standby period is from the time you arrive at the Art Center and then you resume the route that you take?
That depends, but in general, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
And during that 15 or 20 minutes on August 11th, can you tell the jurors, do you get off the bus?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall the general area that you were once you got off the bus during the layover at the standby period?
The general area is the station. In that area, you have seating for for passengers that are waiting, and people in general that are waiting for different buses. So that is the general area that we're allowed to move in freely.
Okay. And I want to show you what's already been entered into evidence, State's Exhibit 10.
Mr. Thompson, if you'll hit the button that says stay muted, that'll get out of the way and you can see what he's asking you about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Can you see on the screen in front of you, State's Exhibit 10?
Yes.
Black box will go away here in a second. But can you describe to the jurors when you arrive or do you recognize where we are in State's Exhibit 10?
Yes.
What is State's Exhibit 10 a photograph of?
The Arts Center bus terminal.
Okay. And can you, in State's Exhibit 10, are you able to see the general area that your bus would have been part of? It may not be on the screen, but can you can touch the screen and circle for the jurors kind of general area where you get to be parked.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. And when you got off the bus Do you know where, I guess, are you kind of standing or hanging out, in that general area where you drew the circle, kind of at the top middle part, space of the tent?
Yes.
Okay, now describe for the jurors, if you can recall, while you're kind of waiting there for your break period or the layover to, end, do you notice anything?
Yeah, I'm standing behind the column that pretty much I circled, and I'm mindful of movement, people that are around, and I noticed two gentlemen seated on the bench to my right, the far bench to my right, and I noticed they were sitting, talking, and I didn't make anything of it. I figured it was just two gentlemen talking, waiting on another bus to come in, or just sitting because you have homeless people in the area as well, sitting and talking. So I didn't make anything of it. I'm someone's behind the column. I'm mindful of, I see them, they're there in the general area. So.
And, you said they were just talking, you said it didn't seem out of, ordinary.
Yeah.
Attention. Did you hear raised voices or yelling?
No.
And can you tell the jurors, what do you remember happening next?
I remember hearing gunshots, and immediately I turned around and I noticed one gentleman, he falls off of the bench, and I noticed another gentleman, a younger gentleman, standing over him, and he lets off a final round, and
You said the person, so you saw, one person that was on the bench.
I saw an older gentleman on the bench, and I saw a younger gentleman shoot him, but in the process, the older gentleman, he fell off the bench, fell on the ground, and shot him again. So
What happened after you heard the next gunshot?
I was in shock. I was in shock.
The person you described as the older gentleman, you said he was on the bench. Does he stay on the floor?
He's on the floor. Yeah, he's on the floor.
The person who shot
The person who shot him, he stood there for a couple of seconds, like he was in shock as well, and just quietly proceeded to walk away toward the escalators. And
remember, after that happened, did you call or radio to anyone for help?
Yes, but before I did that, I went over to where the gentleman was on the ground, and I tried to ascertain what to keep him talking. The thing is, all he kept saying was why, and I tried to comfort him, stabilize him, and get some assistance. And I tried to stabilize him, but he expired.
While you were trying to stabilize him, did anyone eventually come up to help?
Yeah, I notified Marta Transit Authority, and they eventually came. I notified my dispatch, and they came and they sealed off the area. Rescue came, but by the time they got there, like I said, the gentleman had expired.
And do you remember talking to members of the Marta Police Department after they showed up and giving a description?
Yeah, I gave a description of the individual to my best ability, because I was a distance, but I did give a general description of what he was wearing.
What he's wearing and what told the officer?
He was wearing black shirt, basically black long pants, shoes. He had.
All right, for you who just joined, and Dave, who just pops in once in a while, this is the case of Georgia versus Xavier Mosley. He is charged with 1 count of murder, 3 counts of felony murder, and then extra counts as in possession of a gun and in possession of a gun as a convicted felon. Last year, August 14th, a man was gunned down at the Marta bus station at the Arts Center. And the prosecution says we have it on surveillance camera. And Mr. Mosley was caught on the surveillance camera. We are very, very confident that this is him. And then they will bring in some firearms examiner. Yeah, it's a train/bus station. So it's a run-of-the-mill murder case. But this is Fulton County. Remember that. This is Fulton County, and the person behind the charges is Felony Willis. So I'm half expecting that the prosecution will start fucking up soon. But I have no idea. I mean, if they have all these evidence, and then the defense attorney did the keep an open mind, listen to all the evidence, yada yada yada. We really have nothing here. Kind of defense opening statement. Well, except one thing. She said, my client is charged, and as the judge said, he is a convicted felon, but so is Donald Trump. You have an unhealthy fascination with this county. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I need help. Help me, dun, 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 dun. Oh, Dave, did you hear? Apparently, the fundraiser I did Friday, there's some criticism. Apparently, I shouldn't have a fundraiser, and I shouldn't have it for the Delphi trial transcripts, and I shouldn't have had those guests I had. Yeah. And the person with the criticism couldn't say it to my face. It was written somewhere where I suppose I wasn't supposed to see it. So, yeah. Folks, once in a while, I'm going to do fundraisers. And as entertainment during the fundraisers, I will do drinks, hot sauces, and stuff. Ta-da. But when it comes to fundraisers, fundraisers has two objections. One, like the Delphi trial transcripts, to actually get the money for it. Because, I mean, the quota they got was 4,600. Folks, that's a month's salary for me. Yeah, welcome to Sweden. As a salaried jurist, I don't make that much. Now, also a reminder, we have half of the cost of living as in the United States. So it's more equivalent to 90,000, I guess, something of the sort. But so I don't cough up $4,600. So, boom, I hold fundraisers. I invite guests. We get the money in. And now we know once the trial transcripts are done, and they will be out there for everyone. We will not hoard it and release snippets. No, they will be released. So yeah, so I took a bit of offense to that, but not much. If you don't like fundraisers, don't watch it. Yeah. Yeah, the sad part here is the criticisms are from people who claims they are on Rick's side. That's the sad part here. But we don't do it their way. And apparently if we don't do 100% as they do, we're wrong. We're wrong. What to do? What to do? Folks, I've had 12, 14 fundraising streams, something of the sort. I am closing in on $40,000 that I have, through my fundraisers, have gone to Rick Allen's Expert Fund, now the transcripts, Zachariah Anderson, and other causes. I won't stop doing that. I really won't. So, yeah. I mean, it's so stupid. Ah. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, as always, I'm always appreciative if you throw money my way, but it's never necessary. And unless you are a filthy rich person like Dave and has to choose between bread or butter, don't donate. Just watch my stuff. Just watch my stuff. You will get an ad once in a while, and I'm happy with that. But for you wealthy people out there, cough up the money for fuck's no. Just okay. All right, back to the trial. Back to the trial.
He had a hat on, but I could clearly tell he had an afro. I gave a general description because I was some distance away. But I gave it a general description, black male, young looking, just a general description.
When you first approached the male on the ground and got shot, did you ever see him with a firearm?
No.
Ever seen him with any kind of weapon?
No.
And you said while you were trying to comfort him and give him aid, he kept saying, why?
Yeah, because like I said, when I initially saw them, they were conversating, and it was just, it seemed like a general conversation, nothing, no indication that, that anything was wrong.
Now, I want to show you what has been marked and already admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 40. While I'm pulling it up, can you tell the jurors, once you approached the male who was on the ground and you
It
called.
looks like you haven't set up
Oh.
iMessage yet.
Sometimes technology really works for you.
So,
Ordering dinner, yeah, 14 jurors.
Now, when you first approached the male who was on the ground, you said you were trying to comfort him, and then you radioed for help. Would you, I guess, qualify or categorize that members of MARTA, whether it be field protective specialists or the police, arrived fairly quickly?
They arrived fairly quickly, but by the time they got there, like I said, by the time they got there, he had expired. So.
He had expired? Yeah.
Do you see the screen?
Okay, we might need a trigger warning of sorts, because now they are showing stills.
And for the record, I'm starting State's Exhibit 40.
Yeah, because now we are watching a paused, I assume. Because remember, folks, the murder happened and it was caught by surveillance camera. So trigger warning, folks, trigger warning.
The video surveillance for the Marta Arts Station for August 11, 2024 at 8:58:05.
Oh.
I'm stopping at 8:58:18. Do you see the person who's in?
Yeah. So yeah, they caught it on camera. They caught it on camera. Now, for replay crew, I No. Well, maybe the defense will claim that the other guy had the gun. I don't know. Because a gun and ammo that matched everything was found at the defendant's home.
A black shirt, black pants, a hat, you said with an afro and white shoes. Is the person you see on the screen the same person you were describing to the jury a few seconds ago?
Yeah, yes.
And at 8:58 and 35 seconds, do you see at the top left-hand side of the screen where the video is? Do you see that?
Yes,
Is that you?
yes.
And can you generally, how far do you think you were? So you're coming from the left-hand side. What's over there?
That's the other side of the bus port. Literally, I was coming from behind the pillar. After the seller moved away from the victim.
Hi, Mr. Big Playboy. This is Georgia versus Xavier Mosley for the murder at Marta Arts
Now, you described
train station.
before hearing the shots that everything was kind of normal, nothing was out of the ordinary, right? Once you heard the shots and saw the shooting, can you kind of describe to the jurors what was going through your head, your reaction? Were you shocked?
I was in shock because I had just observed both of them and they were just talking. It's, I was in shock of the fact that that it even happened. I was like,
Would you consider this a pretty traumatic, experience in your life?
Yeah.
And then we talked about the description you gave to officers. Did you stay on scene until you were told by the officers that you could leave?
Yes.
And once you were able to leave, did you go about the route that you were referring to earlier, where you would proceed back to the Marietta Transit station?
No, I didn't. I waited for my supervisor to come on scene, and basically my shift ended there. I recorded as much as I could in an incident report for my supervisor and for Marta when they got on the scene. Yeah, that was it for the evening.
I want to show you what's the marks. That sticks to it, 136, and take a look at that, and what else you recognize.
Yes, that's a report that I put in for the evening. Yeah.
And how do you recognize that you're the statement or the report that you did on August 11th, 2024?
It's my handwriting.
Okay, is your signature at the bottom?
Correct.
And does it fairly and accurately depict the copy of the statement that you did on August 11th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay, send around the statement, tender with Mark 6 of 136 of evidence.
Mr. Thompson, this is a statement you gave to Marta Police or that you gave to your
That's
supervisor?
the statement that I gave to my supervisor.
So this was internal Cobb County reporting?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Wood, any objection to at least making part of the record states 136?
Objection, Judge.
Okay, it's admitted.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I don't have any further questions. Ms. Wood, have you?
Ms. Wood, any questions for Mr. Thompson?
No questions. Thank you for being there.
All right, jurors, any questions for Mr. Thompson? Deputy Gordon will collect those. If you'll pass them forward, please.
Oh, jury questions. Please make it more interesting.
The music stopped. They had to hand him in. All right. All right, counsel, I'll see you outside. We'll be right back.
Yeah, they are holding sidebar to discuss the jury questions just in case, because both parties must accept. Or, well, the judge can say, well, over objections, I will still allow this question. And so that is perfectly normal. So they can go through the questions. So it's nothing. So they don't ask a question that they know can't be asked because of prior rulings, motions in limines, or stuff like that.
Push the little black button.
Let's put this down to normal speeds. Now, Judge McBurney, usually we can hear him fine.
Mr. Thompson, when you were out in the area that we see on the screen in front of you, did you ever interact with any MARTA personnel, either police or just station agents?
After the incident, yeah, they came on the scene.
Okay. Meaning police, MARTA police came on, or a station agent, or?
MARTA police came on the scene after the incident, because I waited there until they came on the scene so that they could assist, I could give account of what the situation was.
Got it. So you interacted with at least one officer, if not more, there at the scene after they got there?
Correct.
Okay. Was there anyone on your bus while you were waiting?
I had passengers on my bus. They were safe, secure. Nobody was injured or anything. That's the reason why I waited until the suspect left the platform, because I had to make sure that my passengers were safe.
Okay. Were there any belongings with the gentleman who we see on the ground there? Did he have a bag, or you remember anything he had?
Yeah, correct. He had items that were on the bench, and I don't know if you can still see them, but he had some items with him with him.
Okay. You mentioned to the jury during your testimony about how the gentleman who's on the ground in that picture, I think you used the term expired, that he died. How did you make that determination?
Unfortunately, he just stopped breathing, and his eyes, they glazed over.
So you were close enough.
I was close enough
Got it.
to see him expire, yes.
Okay. Did you engage in any life-saving measures? Give him CPR or
No,
pressure on a wound or anything like that?
I did not.
Was there someone from MARTA who was doing that while you were there?
No, like I said, by the time that they got there, he was gone.
Okay.
It was immediate. He was gone.
Did you see where his injuries were? Where on his body?
No, I didn't see them. I did not see them.
Thank you. Mr. Abadi, any follow-up with Mr. Thompson based on those questions?
Very quickly. Mr. Thompson, so after the shooting, but prior to any members of Marta police arriving, were you the only person who interacted with the victim, the male on the ground?
Correct.
And while you were interacting with the victim, did anyone take anything off of his body or from his belongings?
No.
Nothing further to say.
Ms. Wood, anything else for Mr. Thompson?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Mr. Thompson, thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here. You are free to go. Next witness?
State calls Officer Marta.
First, me raise your right hand. You swear affirm that testimony will be able to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth of God. I do. Glory to God.
Okay.
Spell your name for the record.
Now here comes
Before you
the
do that, can you all
Oh,
take the image down that's on the,
I just discovered. I'm so sorry, folks. This is what I discovered. You can see the witness up in the top right corner, and I had it hidden. I was cursing here. Why can't we see the witnesses? Why can't we see the? I covered the witness. I'm so sorry, folks. Oh, I covered up the witnesses. Ah. That's an hour and a half boomer moment. Yay. Oh, God. I'm so sorry.
Green? That's okay. All right, you're good.
Sir.
If you'd state and spell your last name for the record.
First name Tyshawn, Tyshon. Last name Marthone, Marthone.
You're welcome to sit.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
This is my best guess.
You tell the jurors
Best
where
guess.
you're currently employed and what you do for a living?
Yes, I'm a corporal at the Marta Police Department, located in North Precinct.
How long have you been employed with the Marta Police Department?
Going on 3 years now.
And in the 3 years that you've been with Marta Police Department, what has been your job duties with that specific department?
Mainly field operations patrol.
What specifically do you do on a day-to-day basis with field operations and patrol?
Well, the bus station checks, buses, respond to calls within the system.
And what sort of calls do you respond to while on patrol with Marta Police Department?
Mainly anything they could give us, from disputes, complaints, disorderly conduct, anything on the system that requires police presence.
And in the instances where you respond to scenes such as violent activity or homicides, what is typically the function that you perform as a responding officer?
Well, depending on the severity of the call, we'll initiate blue lights and respond as quickly and promptly as possible.
And when you respond, are you typically dispatched through radio?
Yes.
And if you are actually on scene while the incident is taking place, do you just immediately respond?
Yes.
Now, in a situation where you're called to a scene where there's a shooting that's occurred, what is typically the protocol, especially if there's a victim on scene?
Well, depending on what you just said, yes, we respond quickly and promptly. We'll go radio as much information as possible, respond to and on scene. We'll secure the scene as well as all officers arriving. Perform, depending on severity, again, from life-saving measures or basically, again, secure the scene.
And in between performing life-saving measures and securing the scene, do you attempt to collect witness statements or attempt to ascertain if there were any witnesses to the scene?
on arrival, yes, but mainly just to assess the victim or patron that needs to be assessed.
And in instances where you do have opportunities to interact with eyewitnesses or people who may have relevant information on the scene, do you collect written statements or do you attempt to speak to them in an effort to ascertain what they may have seen or heard?
Yeah, both.
As a responding officer, is it your duty or job function
A bit
at any scene
leading,
that you
but
respond to,
defense isn't.
in essence, investigate the case, or do you turn that over to the criminal investigations division?
That'll be told to the criminal investigations division.
So your, I apologize, cut you off. So your job as a responding officer is to respond to the scene, secure the scene, and turn over the scene over to crime scene, or to the criminal investigation division.
Yes.
So I'd like to turn your attention now to the evening of August 11th, 2024, at approximately 8:45 to 9 p.m. Do you remember that incident?
Yes.
Do you remember the location that you responded to at that particular time frame?
Yes. The Arts Center, Marta station.
And is that area within the jurisdiction of Fulton County?
Yes.
What was the reason that you were responding to that particular location?
I responded based on our radio and our coworker saying those shots fired, pushing shot, I'm sorry, at the Arts Center Marta station.
Now, were you physically present in the immediate vicinity of where the shooting took place? And what I mean by that is, were you actually there to witness or hear the shooting?
No.
So when you were dispatched to that location, was that on radio?
Yes.
And did you have to get into a vehicle to get to the location?
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes.
And did you drive to the incident location?
Yes.
And at the time, were you operating what's referred to as a body-worn camera?
Yes.
What's the reason that you are issued those body-worn cameras?
Well, it's mandatory to collect what's going on around us.
Hey, is it mandatory to collect information and evidence and stuff around you when you get to a crime scene with crime tape? And somebody call Proctor. No, don't call Proctor. He's fired. Somebody call Bukaki. Somebody. You can. Hey, Bukaki, you can actually go to the crime scene. And to the first responders there, the first responding cops, you can seal off the crime scene. Have you heard of something that must be completely new? At least in Canton.
And on that particular night, were you operating your body-worn camera?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to approach you with what's already been pre-marked for identification purposes as states 135. Do you have a chance to review contents of what's on this disc and sign it?
Yes.
Is that your body camera footage of the events that transpired on August 11th, 2024, that specific time frame?
Yes, it is.
And is it a true and correct copy of the body-worn camera that you have, and has it been altered or deleted in any way, shape, or form to your recollection?
No, it hasn't been altered.
Your Honor, at this time, the state seeks to admit states 135 to evidence.
Ms. Wood, any objection to states 135?
Objection.
Admitted.
Mission published.
Yes, sir.
So Officer Marthone, I'm going to show you the first 10 minutes of your body camera, or publish to the jury the first 10 minutes of your body camera footage. This showed the initial call or initial start of your response to the call that you received in reference to this case. Just for the record, could you give a verbal answer for the court?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Fine. Just gotta kick that. Just gotta kick that. My apologies. Looks like we lost our Wi-Fi connection. Okay.
I don't see you connected. I see, unless you're using Mr. Abate's computer.
I was connected. Unfortunately, it just got kicked off because our Wi-Fi stopped working collectively. So while I'm attempting to get connection to this, can you tell me from your own account of what you remember doing in reference to the response to that scene?
Prior to that incident, I was actually riding a MARTA suspension at the located at the Midtown Marta Center station. I'm sorry. When that call came out, so I quickly finished and got in my vehicle and went to that location. License sirens. Upon arrival, that's when I noticed a man on the ground, and he started asking questions while trying to get gloves on. Heard a faint gasping, but at the time still trying to collect what's going on, asking if he's all right, see if he can answer me. Then at that time, I just started giving compressions.
Were there other people present prior to, or as, when you responded to that specific scene where the incident occurred, where you observed the victim? Were there other people surrounding the victim at that point in time?
Yes.
Was there a field specialist from MARTA that was also present at the time?
Yes.
And so what did you do in reference to performing life-saving measures or an attempt to perform life-saving measures on the victim?
I gave chest compressions until I was able to switch out with littles, and as well as I went to go get an AED.
What is an AED?
Not gonna lie, I can't remember it verbatim, but it's a system we attach to your chest in order to give shocks to you.
Were you successful in an attempt to revive? Were you successful in an attempt to revive the victim?
Well, honestly, by the time I was able to run and find Grady EMS showed up.
After Grady EMS showed up, what was your function at that point in time to the scene, in relation to the scene?
Help secure the scene, but try to get as much information as possible to get to my supervisors and CIU.
From the time that you responded to the scene to the time that you ultimately left the scene, did you see anyone tamper with or take anything away from the scene other than law enforcement?
No.
And during the time that you were on scene, did you speak with witnesses that observed or may have had information that was relevant to you or ultimately to the Criminal Investigations Division?
Yes, I believe a Cobb Link bus driver.
And did you collect that information and subsequently turn it over to the Criminal Investigations Division?
Yes.
Now, while you were on scene prior to Grady arriving on scene, did you observe the extent of the wounds that the victim had?
Upon arrival, I seen two small red dots on the victim's stomach.
Prior to you giving life-saving or performing life-saving measures on him, or after or during?
This prior.
And after observing those wounds, you attempted to perform life-saving procedures?
Yes.
At any point in time, from your observations, do you observe the victim with a firearm either on his presence or in the immediate vicinity of his presence?
No.
On set.
You're not giving up, are you?
Nope. So I'm going to share what's been admitted. States 105.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, this might be another trigger warning if they are showing body cam.
Officer Martone, was this the body camera that you were operating on that particular night?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm going to start pressing
working
play.
body cams.
And
How about that?
between this frame. Fortunately, just a little bit of a lag. But between this moment and ultimately when you respond to the scene, there doesn't appear to be any audio. Is there a particular reason why, to your knowledge?
Well, my body cam wasn't activated yet.
Does it require you to press a button, or is there just a time lag between when you do activate your body camera to when sound actually appears?
What is 2
2-minute recording prior to you activating it. Once activated, you tap 2 times.
Once you turn your body camera on, it takes approximately 2 minutes before sound actually can be heard through any device that plays body cam. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you're driving from Midtown Station to Arts Center right now? That's what this is?
Yes, sir.
Kind of ignoring those red lights there. You get to do that?
I guess in reference to what the judge said, at this point in time, are you having your blue lights on?
Yes.
I'm not a fan of judge making statements because this is when the jury should focus on what's going on. No, not a fan. All right, trigger warning. Yeah, I think I have to do this and explain because this might get me demonetized or the stream shut down. Somehow, okay, so somehow the recording went down. Folks, if you wonder, Nick, how can you watch this? And folks, in my line of law, I have witnessed an enormous amount of scenes of injuries. I've seen a man covered in quicklime. I've seen scalps torn off. I have seen a lot of things. And many of those I can't get out of my head. And so, yeah, I'm sadly used to it. Injured people and even dead people. Sadly. They are having technical issues.
Anybody see who did it?
He did it.
What happened?
Yeah, the video is extremely choppy.
About 5'8".
In that video.
Yes.
And at that point in time, you receive a description of potential suspect in this particular case. Is that correct?
Yes.
Anyone matching that description on scene at the time that you responded to that location at any point in time during your presence on scene?
No.
And upon responding to the scene and observing the victim and collecting witness statements and securing the scene so that it was not tampered with, did that conclude your involvement with respect to the response of the shooting incident that occurred on the night of August 11th, 2024?
Yes.
You want to try one more time?
What you got? Huh? You got shot? Did anybody see who did it?
He did it.
What happened?
Black male, black shirt, black pants, black hat, clothes, about 5'8".
Yeah.
You went down those stairs right there?
Yeah, you can see on the victim is on the ground, absolutely still, and yeah, it's a corner there already. But they are attempting CPR.
Sir, talk to me. What did you get shot at? Left side?
He is not responding to touch or anything. According to the prosecution, he was shot in the chest and his elbow.
20 million. Yeah, before stepping up.
There's some very slight movement. But that might be because the cop is actively touching him. So it's just a body reaction.
The female with the blue shirt, was that field specialist Little?
Yes.
Is that the person that you were working with to perform life-saving measures on the victim?
Yes. Real advised. Subjects unresponsive, not breathing. Just look for it anyway. Look for it anyway. I gotta switch it.
And now he's performing CPR on the video, and that cop needs to take a course in CPR. But better than nothing, I would assume. And the scramble you hear is everything the cop is wearing as he's doing CPR.
You can't screw up everybody off the table. Okay. Come on, man. Come on.
So, as you're performing chest compressions, that at some point in time, do you attempt to get the device that you previously referred to? What was it called again? Start with an A.
AED.
AED. Do you attempt to go get that device?
Yes. Once I switch out, and others arrive, then I attempt to go get the AED out of the station.
You say others arrived. You mean other MARTA police officers?
Yes.
So you felt confident that the scene would at least be secured by them in order to leave that particular that location to attempt to locate the that device.
Yes. Once my other officers sort of, I ran to go get the AED.
And where was the AED in reference to where you were specifically?
There you
It
see.
would be located next to the fare gates towards the side.
Just thought I would quickly show you where what I am actually looking at.
As we fast forward from minute marker 5 minutes and 8 seconds to 7 minutes and 30 seconds. At this point in time, have you retrieved the device, the AED?
Yes.
And after retrieving the AED, from what we see now on the body camera footage in States 135, are you attempting to go back to where the victim is located?
Yes.
And at this point in time, Grady Memorial, have they arrived yet?
I believe so. Yes.
Well, let me ask you this question. Did you turn over the life-saving measures to Grady once they arrived?
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to recollect everything I did. If I recall back, other MARTA officers came on scene as I'm shooting the AED. By then, they're still performing chest compressions, and that's when Great EMS arrived.
But whenever they arrived, you would get out of the way and say, "You're the paramedics. We're going to let you take over."
Yes, sir.
And ultimately, did the paramedics take the victim's body from the scene?
Yes.
Do you know where it is they transported them?
I did not collect that information. I was busy securing scheme at that point.
So once they arrived, you ceased to work on the victim. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And at that point in time, what was your role in reference to the response to the scene?
Securing the scene and collecting as much information as possible.
And ultimately, did you leave the scene?
Not until it was turned over to CIU.
And at that point in time, what did you do?
I then went to go make a report, initial report.
What was your shift that particular night? What time did you start working? What time did you end up stopping?
At that point, my shift was 6 p.m. to 6 a. 6 p.m. Sorry, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
6 a.m. So after your response to the scene, you were still on shift. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you return to service after writing this report?
Yes.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Ms. Wood, any questions for Officer Marthone?
No questions. Thanks for being here.
Jurors, any questions for Officer Marthone? Oh, yes. Okay. Here comes Deputy Gordon.
Jury questions again. That's it. Active jury. Active jury. We like that. We like that.
Thank you. Officer Marthone, were you able to tell from your interaction with the gentleman who was lying on the ground where he had been injured?
Well, once I seen blood stains on the floor, once I was able to turn him over, I was able to see where he was injured.
Which was where?
On his stomach.
Okay. And did you search him, the gentleman who was on the ground?
I did not search him.
There was a backpack on the bench near where he was found. Did you search that backpack?
I did not.
Do you know if that backpack was collected as evidence in the case?
I believe that was collected by CIU.
And CID, that would be some detective or investigator who showed up at the scene.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Vadi, Mr. Rapp, any follow-up based on those questions?
Yeah.
Ms. Wood?
No judgment.
Officer, thank you for your time.
All right.
Next witness?
They were called Sergeant David Pullen.
All right, folks, I've been at it for almost 3 hours now, and they are not starting tomorrow until 12:30. So no morning session. Which means the rest of today, I will start showing at roughly noon tomorrow. And then we will go through the rest of day one and into day two. Now, since it's in the opening statement from the prosecution, he said next few days or next couple of days. So this will be a fast trial, a short trial. Probably will be done before the weekend. So we will do as I do now. Start noon, 1 p.m., something of the sort. I will play it in 1.25, skip lunches, skip pauses, skip breaks, and we will be caught on. I don't think the defense will put up any defense case in chief. The way the defense attorney does this, yeah, I don't know. But folks, but. So, 3 hours. Okay. And then once I can edit, I will have to, the few trigger warning points I have to blur out. Otherwise, there might not be a replay. Everybody, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Dave for the $10. Really appreciate that. Yeah, so this is a run-of-the-mill trial. This is how evidence is collected, what cops do, the witnesses, boom, boom, boom. This is a trial when you have good evidence. It's not a year-long trial where you have to cheat and hide stuff. It's just, here's the evidence. Hello, jury. Here's the evidence. It's a trial without drama. Now, this might not be the earth-shattering stuff that brings in all the audience. But sometimes we have to have something to compare with in order to understand exactly how bad the other cases are. So this is Georgia versus Xavier Mosley. It is the Marta murder at Marta Arts trial. All right. Thank you again. And I will see you tomorrow. Bring friends. Bring friends. All right. See ya. Bye-bye.
Raven waves, brothers, axes high, shields strong. From distant lands